Chapter 171. The 100 Herbs' ancestors Yuanying suddenly turned into a green seed. The seed swelled up and cracks appeared on its surface. Rays of blinding green light shot out from within, emitting a terrifying wave of power. This is the strongest energy wave that Lin Feng has seen with his own eyes ever since he started cultivating Dao techniques. A Yuanying old monster had self-detonated the powerful power of Yuanying. However, Lin Feng did not panic. Instead, a smile appeared on his face. With a point of his finger, the Twin Realms Void technique was activated. Stupid bird, when I meet a Yuanying cultivator, I'm least afraid of you self-detonating your Yuanying. This was the truth. Although Lin Feng was only at the early golden elixir stage, he was the same as the Yuanying old monster. He had already comprehended a large amount of the mysteries of space, so he could crush most opponents in the golden elixir period. Against a Yuanying old monster, Lin Feng's advantage was greatly reduced. Instead, he was at a disadvantage in terms of magical power and divine arts. Therefore, what he was most afraid of was a Yuanying old monster using his magical power to suppress him head-on. However, once a Yuanying cultivator self-detonated his Yuanying, the destructive power would reach its peak, but all the laws of space would collapse, and he would no longer be able to control space. At this time, the power of Lin Feng's Twin Realms Void technique was once again displayed. Even a Yuanying cultivator could only travel through space and hide as far as possible when facing an opponent of the same level as him who self-detonated his Yuanying. However, Lin Feng could replace the 100 Herbs' ancestors' position in space and send him far away. This time, the position Lin Feng chose was the area where the Gung Metal Tiger King's demon infant was. Seeing that there seemed to be an internal conflict between the 100 Herbs' ancestor and Lin Feng, the Gung Metal Tiger King's attacks gradually weakened, wanting to observe the situation. Unexpectedly, Lin Feng pointed his finger, and Yuanying, who was about to self-destruct, appeared in front of him. Ever since Lin Feng appeared, he had only used the Void of Two Realms technique once, and that was when his God of War clone closed the distance and attacked the Gung Metal Tiger King with the 8 trigrams Sky Collapsing Hammer. Because it looked no different from a normal spatial traversal, the Gung Metal Tiger King and 100 Grass Ancestor were numbed to a certain extent. Now that the Gung Metal Tiger King had revealed its true prowess, it was already too late for the Gung Metal Tiger King to react. The two old monsters Yuanying was almost touching each other's faces. No! The Gung Metal Tiger King let out an angry roar, but could not stop the destructive green light from exploding right beside him. Scoundrel! The 100 Herbs' ancestor let out an indignant roar. He could only watch as Lin Feng smiled and waved at him from afar, as if bidding him farewell. This scene infuriated the 100 Herbs' patriarch even more. However, the Yuanying of self-destruction could not be reversed. No matter how much he hated Lin Feng, there was nothing he could do. Who is this person? The 100 Herbs' patriarch died with his eyes wide open. This was the last thought in his mind. The Gung Metal Tiger King was also infuriated. The demonic nascent soul in the form of a tiger cub was indeed powerful, but the body of the nascent soul was extremely fragile and could be easily damaged. This was also why the old monsters of the Yuanying stage did not dare to release their Yuanying. Facing a cultivator of the same level who self-destructed Yuanying, the Gung Metal Tiger King's demonic nascent soul was instantly injured. With such serious injuries, even if no one attacked it, it was very likely that it would die. The Gung Metal Tiger King's mind was spinning. Before he could even catch his breath, he found himself surrounded by Lin Feng, his God of War clone, and Black Dragon Jieyu. Lin Feng did not even give him a chance to self-destruct his demonic nascent soul. He immediately killed the Gung Metal Tiger King, who was already on the verge of death. Host has killed the demonic king. In the human world south of the great Hengduan mountain range, Host's reputation has reached 70. Lin Feng's ears suddenly rang with the system notification. He could not help but be surprised and quickly opened the system to check. He found that there was a huge map in the system that covered the entire human world of the Divine Land. The map was divided into regions. In the Great Qin Dynasty South region, Lin Feng's current reputation was 40. Lin Feng thought back carefully and knew that it was because he used the war god puppet to kill Tao heir, Elder Yuelao, and the others in front of the Xiandao sect's old ancestor Pu Beizi and the others, causing him to have some reputation in this area. However, the system did not notify him when his reputation was less than 60. In the Great Hunduan Mountain Range South region, Lin Feng's current reputation was 0. His potential reputation had reached 70, and he successfully activated the system notification. He needed someone to spread the news of him killing the Gung Metal Tiger King. Only then would his potential reputation be converted into actual current reputation. Apart from that, in the other regions, Lin Feng's reputation was basically 0. The most direct use of reputation was that when Lin Feng opened a mountain gate to accept disciples, it would attract a large number of talents. His current reputation was 60. When Lin Feng proposed to accept disciples, the people in the region would not need to think and would immediately agree. His current reputation was 70. Within the region, ordinary talents with a total potential of 20 and above would take the initiative to accept him as a disciple. His current reputation was 80. Within the region, outstanding talents with a total potential of 24 and above would take the initiative to accept him as a disciple. His current reputation was 90. Within the region, outstanding talents with a total potential of 28 and above would take the initiative to accept him as a disciple. His current reputation was 100. Within the region, outstanding talents with a total potential of 30 and above would take the initiative to accept him as a disciple. Reputation 80. Lin Feng drooled. As long as his current reputation reached 80, he would not need to look for disciples with a total potential of 25 and above would automatically come to him. There was hope for him to complete the system's main mission. But on second thought, he killed the Gung Metal Tiger King, the Grand Demon King, but he only gained 70 reputation. It could be seen that it was not easy to gain reputation. Thinking of this, Lin Feng suddenly felt a little discouraged. Especially, the region where his current reputation was the highest was not his own lair, the north of Kunlun Mountain. There, Lin Feng's current reputation was only 20. It must have been spread by Yang Qingli, Chen Shi, and others. Speaking of which, I don't know how Yang Qing is doing. Lin Feng shook his head and thought, there is still enough time. I can make a long-term plan. If it doesn't work, I will come to the Great Hunduan Mountain to dig the foundation of the Wilderness Sword sect. After dealing with the problems of the system, Lin Feng smiled. He turned his palm, and a white light ball floated above his palm. Inside the light ball, a platinum tiger cub was lying silently, but it did not have the slightest hostility and fierceness. Its eyes were dull and lifeless, like a shell without a soul. This was the essence of the demon infant of the Gung Metal Tiger King. After its demon infant collapsed, the crystallization of demonic power was formed. Its divine sense, memory, and intelligence were all gone, leaving only the purest form of energy. At the critical moment before the Gung Metal Tiger King died, Lin Feng cast a spell to preserve the essence of the demon infant. It could be said to be one of his biggest gains in this battle. In addition, the god of war doppelganger came to his side with the desolation element 9 smelting thundernet. Inside the net was the body of the Gung Metal Tiger King. Its demon infant was released, but it was seriously injured by the self-explosion of the 100 Herbs ancestor. Unable to return to its body, it was destroyed by Lin Feng. As a result, the empty shell of its body was also owned by Lin Feng. Although it was injured by the continuous attacks, it was still of great value. Black Dragon Jieyu was next to him, looking at it eagerly. If he could devour the essence of the Gung Metal Tiger King's demon infant and the remains of its body, he could easily become a demon king. Lin Feng noticed Jieyu's line of sight, turning his head and looking at him with a smile that was not a smile. I remember someone said something before. What did they say? Jieyu's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling. Sure enough, Lin Feng then slowly said, "Oh, I remember. I think he said that if he doesn't die in this battle, he will definitely seek justice for me. I'm curious. What kind of justice does he want to seek from me? Jiayu shuddered all over. With a righteous air, he said in all seriousness, "That bastard must be out of his mind. He's spouting nonsense. Immortal, every word you say is justice." As soon as these words came out, Lin Feng was instead stunned, looking at Jiayu a bit speechlessly. "Big brother, you're a member of the dragon race. Where's your dignity? Where's your pride? Where's your backbone? When we first met on Yujing Mountain, he was also an awe-inspiring man. After a long time, it turned out that he was just a coward who bullied the weak and feared the strong. However, a coward also has its uses." Lin Feng's eyes turned slightly. He smiled warmly like the sun and asked, "Then if I have anything for you to do in the future?" Jiayu patted his chest loudly. "No more words. I'll come from the water, go into the fire, go into the sky, go into the earth. Just a look from you." Lin Feng nodded with satisfaction. Jiayu saw that Lin Feng didn't seem to pursue his previous offense. He breathed a sigh of relief and then said carefully, "Immortal, do you think this tiger demon's body and essence of the demon infant can be rewarded?" Lin Feng turned around expressionlessly and looked at him silently. Jiayu hurriedly swallowed the second half of his words. His huge dragon head drooped down anxiously. Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile. "That depends on your performance. If you perform well, I won't mistreat you." Jiayu was overjoyed when he heard this. His big tail wagged behind him, and he looked extremely servile. After the death of the 100 Herbs ancestor, the colorful clouds also gradually dissipated. When the clouds dispersed, Lin Feng's figure on Jiayu's back was revealed. The battle lasted for an entire night. Finally, the morning arrived. The sun rose and shone on Lin Feng's back, dyeing him golden. Everyone on Eternal Spring Peak raised their heads and squinted their eyes due to the piercing sunlight. But everyone could clearly see that beside Lin Feng, the war god clone was carrying a large net in his hands. Within the net was the corpse of the Gung Metal Tiger King that tore apart Eternal Spring Peak with its monstrous might. Before this, the Gung Metal Tiger King had beaten up the 100 Herbs ancestor. The Gung Metal Tiger demons also had an overwhelming advantage in the battle against the human cultivators and hunted down the people of the 100 Herbs sect. However, at this moment, everyone stopped fighting and stared blankly at Lin Feng in the sky. Their minds were blank. After a long while, the Gung Metal Tiger demons all let out sorrowful howls. Meanwhile, the human cultivators stared at this scene with their mouths agape. They were speechless. Suddenly, the crowd erupted into a tsunami of cheers. The entire Eternal Spring Peak was filled with deafening cheers. Chapter 172. Even though the crowd was furious, but all of the Gung Metal Tiger demons still uniformly chose to retreat. The Gung Metal Tiger King is already dead. If they don't leave, then they'll be asking for trouble. Lin Feng didn't pay any attention to the tiger demons that fled in all directions, instead comforting the surviving disciples of the 100 Herb sect. In order to turn his potential reputation into actual reputation, he still needs to rely on these people to help spread the word. In Lin Feng's narration, he became a close friend of the 100 Herb ancestor. Hearing that the 100 Herb sect was about to encounter this calamity, he hurried over to help. Even though the Gung Metal Tiger King was killed, but the 100 Herb ancestor also died a glorious death. Friends of 1,000 years, who would have thought that this would be the last time we meet? Lin Feng slightly shook his head, sighing. The disciples of the 100 Herb sect, thinking that the sect has lost the Yuanying ancestor and that their future is bleak, all of them were filled with sorrow. Lin Feng gave them a few words of encouragement, then left. Sweeping his eyes around, Master Scarlet Leaf's group of women were already nowhere to be seen. They must have taken advantage of the chaos to drive the chariot and break out of the encirclement. Thinking that the woman in the lead once said that she was interested in the bronze void cauldron, Lin Feng slightly frowned, but he didn't take it to heart. Lin Feng arrived at the base of Eternal Spring Peak. Kong Nanhua and Yu Hongyan were waiting for him there. "Fellow Taoist, how have you been?" Lin Feng faintly smiled. Kong Nanhua sighed, her expression lonely, and didn't say anything. Lin Feng was a bit puzzled, looking at Yu Hongyan on the side. The eyes of the girl who has always been strong were slightly red. The Society of the Strong Gale is finished. Lin Feng was stunned. Looking at Yu Hongyan, he couldn't help but be frightened. What kind of eyes are those, cold and gloomy like a calamity cloud descending from the sky? But in the center there seems to be a monstrous fire burning. Extremely deep hatred and anger was condensed into this pair of crimson-red eyes, as if the overcast sky was burning. Lin Feng looked at Kong Nanhua again, and when he came into contact with her guilty and disappointed gaze, he was momentarily at a loss for words. Kong Nanhua pulled herself together and shook her head. She looked at Lin Feng and said, "Let's not talk about that anymore. Fellow Taoist Lin, what are your plans for these children?" With a wave of his hand, Lin Feng stowed away all the living soil at the bottom of the urn. He said, "I've come for the living soil in the first place. When I saw the 100 Herbs ancestor refine pills in such an inhumane manner, I decided to eliminate him along the way. If these children remember the way home, we should send them to reunite with their parents and family." Kong Nanhua nodded. "That was my plan as well, but it seems like it won't work." "Oh, why?" Lin Feng asked curiously. On the side, Yu Hongyan explained, "Senior, these children were all gathered by the 100 Herbs ancestor from all over the world. They're all still too young, and their minds haven't developed yet. Plus, they were put in the urn to be refined. Most of their minds are muddled. They can't even tell where their home is or if they have any relatives at home." Lin Feng sighed to himself. The 100 Herbs ancestor really has committed a sin. Even though he doesn't know what problems have occurred with the Society of the Strong Gale, but it seems that Kong Nanhua and Yu Hongyan also have no fixed abode at the moment and travel alone. To take care of so many children at once is probably a problem. Lin Feng thought for a bit and said, "Never mind, my sect is still lacking some medicine boys. Medicine boys, I'll just take them back to the mountain. After they've regained their senses and know where their home is, I'll send them home if they want to go home." Speaking to hear, Lin Feng was secretly regretful in his heart. These children were able to pass the pill refinement process with such a high elimination rate. At least their minds and willpower are very strong. It's just a pity that their foundations are a bit low. What's condensed in their bodies is only a hollow cauldron hollow core. Even if large amounts of cultivation resources are provided, at most they'll be able to turn the hollow core into their own and form a yellow quality golden elixir. If their aptitude was heaven-defying, the 100 Herbs ancestor wouldn't bear to use them to refine pills. He'd definitely take them in as disciples and raise them as future pillars of the sect. However, if they can all really form their core in the future, a bunch of golden elixir level children, TSK, that's also very cool. Lin Feng pondered in his heart, but if I really wait until I succeed, they'll need to cultivate Tao techniques from the beginning. Who knows how long that'll take? Turning his head to look at Kong Nanhua, Lin Feng asked, "What do you plan to do from now on?" "I'll first find a suitable place to go into seclusion. I feel that my Tao techniques have reached a bottleneck. If I can break through, I'll be able to form my nascent soul and advance to the yuanying stage." Kong Nanhua said, and paused for a moment. His eyes became a bit brighter. "I must advance to the yuanying stage. I must." Lin Feng looked at him again and said with a smile, "If I'm not wrong, your bottleneck should be the imbalance of water and soil." Kong Nanhua's Eternal Ganji's quicksand spell was a Tao technique that combined water and earth elements. Just now, when he fought against the Gung Metal Tiger King, his earth element spell had reached great heights in the Golden Elixir period, and he could fight against the Gung Metal Tiger King in the yuanying stage. However, his water element cultivation didn't seem to have made much progress compared to when he was in the great swamp of the ancient domain. Hearing this, Kong Nanhua's eyes flickered. He nodded and sighed. "Fellow Taoist's eyes are like a torch, and your words hit the nail on the head. My Eternal Ganji's quicksand spell can be cultivated into two great divine abilities. One is the sand of the Ganges River, and the other is the primordial true water, one of the 6 great true waters. This seclusion is to try to cultivate the primordial true water. If I succeed, I'll be able to fuse the two into one and I'll be able to endure the lightning tribulation and form the Yuanying stage. Lin Feng said, if that's the case, why don't you come to my Yujing Mountain? I believe it will be of great help to you in breaking through the bottleneck. Kong Nanhua was a bit hesitant and looked at Yu Hongyan, who was beside him. Yu Hongyan smiled. Mr. Kong, you don't need to worry about me. I can take care of myself. Lin Feng said lightly. If you're willing, you can come with me. Back then, in the great swamp of the ancient domain, Yu Hongyan was only 15 or 16 years old, and she was already at the early stages of foundation establishment. Her talent was really eye-catching. Lin Feng had once used the talent detector to test her, but the result he got was that Yu Hongyan already had a master. Now that he used the talent detector to check again, it showed Yu Hongyan's data. Talent system has finished organizing. The target's data is as follows. Bone aptitude 8, comprehension 8, will 7, fortune 7. Conclusion. The target's talent is extremely high. It's recommended to take her in as a disciple and carefully guide her. She will definitely become a pillar of the sect. Lin Feng's pupils contracted. Talent with a total potential of 30. Even though it's not as good as Xiao Yin and the others, it's still monstrous. Even though Yu Hongyan is a remnant of Snow Gale country, ever since Lin Feng took Zhu Yi as his disciple, he would sooner or later have to go against the Great Zhou Empire and the Marquis of Xuanji. Lin Feng doesn't mind taking in another person who stands against the Great Zhou Empire as a disciple. It's just that he doesn't know why she broke away from her previous master or sect. Ripples appeared in Yu Hongyan's red eyes. Since Lin Feng invited Kong Nanhua to go to his cave to form her nascent soul, it can be imagined that that place is an extremely suitable place for cultivation. She desires to increase her strength so that she can help take revenge for her companions. Yu Hongyan was a bit embarrassed. Can I also go? Lin Feng laughed. No problem. I haven't had a guest in a long time. Hearing this, Yu Hongyan nodded his head forcefully. Kong Nanhua raised her head to look at Lin Feng and said seriously, previously in the great marsh of ancient region, I am indebted to fellow Taoist for saving me. Now that fellow Taoist has extended a helping hand to me, I am indebted to fellow Taoist too much. I can only follow you for life and listen to your orders. However, if I have an order, I won't regret it even if I die 100 times. Just as Lin Feng was about to speak, a system notification suddenly rang in his ears. Congratulations, host, for triggering the side quest of the Sect Protector. Do you want to take in the loose cultivator Kong Nanhua as the Sect Protector? Lin Feng was instantly stunned. That works. After thinking carefully, Lin Feng said, that day in the great marsh of ancient region, I already said not to mention things like following or being ordered. I didn't attack to take advantage of you. Today, I invited fellow Taoist to my cave to form his nascent soul, and I definitely don't have any intentions of demanding repayment. Kong Nanhua shook his head and said seriously, I definitely don't have such intentions. Then, he didn't say anything else and just bowed deeply to Lin Feng. Lin Feng sighed softly and helped him up. He said with a smile, my words are still the same. Don't mention things like following or being ordered. If fellow Taoist doesn't mind, then you can take up the position of a protector in my sect. I have some good-for-nothing disciples. When the time comes, fellow Taoist can also help me discipline them. Kong Nanhua smiled and changed the way he addressed him. A great teacher produces a great disciple. I feel a lot of pressure teaching your disciple. Loose cultivator Kong Nanhua has officially become the host sect protector. Host has completed the side quest of the sect protector. Host will be rewarded with 1 lottery ticket. Lin Feng immediately smiled. This was buy one, get one free. His trip was not in vain. He found the breathing soil that he needed, swept away the precious medicinal seedlings that the 100 Herbs sect had collected, and even killed the Gung Metal Tiger King to obtain its corpse and the essence of its nascent soul. He also abducted some children who had a good foundation. Then, he got a cultivator who was about to form his nascent soul as a protector and conveniently got a lottery ticket. Returning with a full load. Lin Feng couldn't help but want to look up at the sky and laugh 3 times. That's right, As long as I successfully refine it, I'll get 3 more good magic treasures. I made a killing this time. With a wave of the black cloud flag, Yu Hongyin and the group of children were swept away. Then, Lin Feng and Kong Nanhua rode the wind and flew back to the Kunlun mountain range. Under Lin Feng's guidance, everyone set foot on Mount Yujing. Looking at the fairyland-like Mount Yujing, Yu Hongyin and the group of children couldn't help but be mesmerized. Kong Nanhua's face also revealed a shocked expression. Sect leader, this heavenly paradise is really something I have never seen in my life. Thinking about it, even the Taishu Temple and Mount Shu Sword Sect's mountain gates are only this good, right? He breathed in and out a few times. The abundant spiritual energy of Mount Yujing made him feel relaxed and happy. If I cultivate here, I have a 99% chance of surviving the lightning tribulation and successfully forming Yuanying. Yu Hongyan looked at the mysterious sky treasure tree above his head and said emotionally, if I really want to cultivate here for the rest of my life, my realm will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Lin Feng was proud of himself and secretly told himself to be reserved. On the surface, he said indifferently, it's good that you're satisfied. Come, let me introduce you to a few good-for-nothing disciples. As he said this, Lin Feng had a thought and contacted Xiao Yin and the others. Who knew that with this move, Lin Feng's heart would beat wildly. These stinking brats. I'm not here. What are they doing now? Chapter 173. Come, let me introduce you to a few of my good-for-nothing's disciples. Even though Lin Feng spoke modestly, he was secretly very pleased, saying that they were useless, but any one of his 4 disciples could definitely shock Kong Nanhua and Yu Hongyin to the point of being unable to close their mouths. Wang Lin might not be able to do it. This young man had not reached the stage where he could exert his strength yet. However, his comprehension of dermic powers could definitely surprise a few guests. He originally wanted to bring his disciples out to show off, but unexpectedly, he could only sense Zhu Yi and Wang Lin. Xiao Yin and Tiny Tot did not move at all, as if they had disappeared. Xiao Yi, what happened? Where are Xiao Yin and Tiny Tot? Lin Feng frowned and transmitted his voice to Zhu Yi. A moment later, Zhu Yi's anxious voice was heard. Master, it's good that you're back. Little junior brother went to provoke the old man who was playing chess under the treasure tree and was sucked into the chessboard. Eldest senior brother wanted to save him, but he was also sucked in. Third junior brother and I did not know the gist of it, so we really did not dare to act rashly. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He almost did not have time to greet Kong Nanhua and the others. He wanted to quickly go and see what happened to Xiao Yin and Tiny Tot. Calm down, calm down. Lin Feng took a deep breath, stabilizing his mind and sending a sound transmission to Zhu. I'll be there right away. You guys don't need to panic. You don't need to do anything. Just stay where you are and wait for me to come. I'm sorry. Lin Feng turned to look at Kong Nanhua and Yu Hongyin and said with a smile, children are immature and love to cause trouble. There was an accident. I'll go and deal with it. Kong Nanhua and Yu Hongyin looked at each other and nodded, indicating that they would stay outside and that they would take care of the kids for the time being. Lin Feng nodded with a smile and slowly flew into the sky, entering the mysterious heaven-time light paradise above the profound heaven treasure tree. As soon as he disappeared from the sight of Kong Nanhua and the others, Lin Feng immediately changed his appearance. He anxiously ran all the way to the center of the heavenly abode, where the small treasure tree was located. The girl with the sword on her back was still walking around the treasure tree. Tianqihua's cries could be heard. Unable to find Xiao Yin, it was rolling around on the ground crying. Zhu Yi and Wang Lin were so anxious that they didn't have time to care about him. They were standing next to the old chess player. When they saw Lin Feng, they hurriedly saluted together. Disciple pays respect to master. Lin Feng waved his hand slightly and walked over to the old chess player. The old man still looked sloppy. His hair was messy like a chicken coop, and his clothes were tattered. He was playing chess by himself. Lin Feng met his eyes, but the old man's eyes were unfocused. He still looked like he couldn't see Lin Feng, as if Lin Feng didn't exist. What did Tianhao do to be sucked into the chessboard? Lin Feng turned his head and asked. Wang Lin answered. Little junior brother took a chess piece from the chessboard. Then, he suddenly shrank and flew toward the chessboard. Eldest senior brother wanted to pull him back, but the moment he touched little junior brother's hand, his body shrank as well. He was dragged towards the chessboard with little junior brother. When they landed on the chessboard, they completely disappeared. Zhu Yi added, I crushed the voice transmission crystal and tried to contact them, but there was no response. Lin Feng looked at the old chess player and thought for a moment before nodding. It's fine. Wait here. I'll bring them out. With that said, Lin Feng bent down and picked up a chess piece from the chessboard. The moment the chess piece left the chessboard, a strange force suddenly appeared. Lin Feng felt a vortex appear in front of him, constantly spinning as it tried to suck him in. Lin Feng didn't resist, allowing the force to suck him in. As expected, there is an independent space within the chessboard. The distorted scenery before him returned to normal. When Lin Feng landed on solid ground, what appeared before him was a world made up of black and white, with a clear distinction between them. Beneath his feet was a vast expanse of whiteness, like an endless snowfield and glacier. The sky above him was completely black, but it didn't affect his vision. The distant horizon was the boundary between black and white. Lin Feng strode forward, pondering as he walked. Where did those two brats go? As he walked, Lin Feng suddenly discovered that the originally black and white world was gradually turning turbid, turning a chaotic gray. At the same time, a strange force was constantly eroding Lin Feng's mind, causing him to feel drowsy. Lin Feng's heart trembled slightly. His dermic powers automatically circulated to resist the invasion of this strange force. However, the effect was not obvious. His mind became increasingly hazy, and his drowsiness intensified. The celestial world barrier. Lin Feng frowned. He raised his hand and chopped at the air. The power of the celestial world barrier immediately took effect, isolating this strange force. However, Lin Feng could clearly sense that after the celestial world barrier disappeared, the other party surged forward again. Understanding has already risen in Lin Feng's heart. Only nascent soul stage cultivators who have comprehended the mysteries of space can enter here and continuously cut off space. Only then can they guarantee that they won't be hypnotized and fall into a deep sleep. If Lin Feng hadn't practiced the 8 trigrams Great Way scripture and comprehended part of the secrets of space in advance, he would also fall into a deep sleep here. I'm afraid this is still the power of the unconscious space. If it was really hostile and exerted its full power, I'm afraid that even a Yuanian cultivator wouldn't be able to resist it. Lin Feng used the celestial world barrier to open a path. After a while, 2 figures appeared on the ground in front of him. They were Xiao Yin and Tiny Tot. Xiao Yin's facial features had matured a little. His originally somewhat delicate face had now completely lost its childishness, leaving behind only an imposing appearance. Tiny Tot, on the other hand, had changed a lot. Lin Feng was stunned at first glance. When Lin Feng left, he was only a 5 or 6-year-old brat. But this time, he was already a big kid about 10 years old. Just like when he was young, the little guy really grew a good appearance. He was still pink and cute and looked like a cute little boy. However, the 2 of them were sleeping soundly, which somewhat affected their image. Lin Feng used his magic power to explore and found that the 2 of them were not injured. They were just in a deep sleep. They didn't waste any time. As soon as he used his magic power to explore, Lin Feng immediately found that Tiny Tot had already erected a spirit platform and advanced to the middle stage of foundation establishment. Xiao Yin was even more terrifying. He had even condensed a pill cauldron and was now at the late stage of foundation establishment. Lin Feng felt strange in his heart. The little guy entered the sect the earliest, and his bone structure is also the highest. Even though he's young and playful, his cultivation level has actually always been number 1 in his sect. Why did he fall behind Xiao Yin this time? Moreover, what made Lin Feng feel a little disappointed was that the spirit platform erected by Tiny Tot this time was actually only a first-grade spirit platform. It was reasonable to say that even in a genius concentration camp like Taishu Temple, a disciple erecting a first-grade spirit platform would be a matter of universal celebration. If it was any other sect, they would simply announce to the world that they had come to witness the ceremony. But this was Tiny Tot, who was born at Foundation Establishment, a supreme being descended from the heavens. He was born with a sea of chi and built a supreme spirit platform above the sea of chi. His bone structure had reached a full value of 10 points. When he first took him in as a disciple, even though he was plotted against and lost his original supreme spirit platform, in terms of innate potential, his bone frame was still a full 10 points. At that time, Lin Feng guessed that when a little guy rebuilds his spirit platform, it should still be a supreme spirit platform. Who would have thought that it was only a first-grade spirit platform? That brother of his really deserves to be killed. Lin Feng frowned, but in the end, he still felt unreconciled for Tiny Tot. He used his magic power to carefully explore again. After a careful inspection, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly widened. This little bastard, under the penetration of his magic power, Lin Feng could clearly see Tiny Tot's sea of chi. At this time, he could clearly see that in Tiny Tot's sea of chi, there was a neat row of spirit platforms like soldiers waiting for inspection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, F*CK, 5 spirit platforms. 5 spirit platforms, all first grade. This time, Lin Feng was really dumbfounded. As far as he knew, in the thousands of years of cultivation history of the Heaven Primal world, although the number was extremely few, there had been more than one supreme spirit platform. However, no matter how heaven-defying one's talent was, one could only erect one spirit platform. To erect 5 spirit platforms like Tiny Tot was absolutely unheard of. In particular, as Lin Feng continued to carefully observe, the corner of his eyes twitched as he discovered that there was actually a faint 6th spirit platform in Tiny Tot's sea of chi. It was about to rise from the ground and was already in its embryonic form. As long as Tiny Tot diligently condensed it, the 6th spirit platform was just around the corner. Moreover, according to Tiny Tot's usual behavior, Lin Feng had sufficient reason to believe that this 6th spirit platform was definitely a first-grade spirit platform. Perfect root bone, perfect root bone. Lin Feng clenched his teeth and sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder Xiao Yin is already in the late stage of Foundation Establishment, but you're still in the middle stage of Foundation Establishment. But how many spirit platforms do you have in mind? As if feeling the probing of Lin Feng's magic power, Tiny Tot in the sweet dream mumbled and turned over. Lin Feng's consciousness retreated from Tiny Tot's sea of chi. When he raised his head, he suddenly saw a ball of light and shadow above Tiny Tot's head. What is this? Lin Feng curiously let his divine sense enter the light and shadow, only to see that in the light and shadow, scenes kept flashing. Within one scene, the little guy was continuously giggling. Behind him, a flustered and exasperated enormous vicious beast was continuously chasing after him. The little guy laughed as he quickly hid behind a lump of black shadow and said with a smile, "Eldest senior brother, beat him up." The black shadow roared angrily and directly rushed forward, trampling the ferocious beast to the ground with one foot. However, what made Lin Feng's face full of black lines was that this black shadow was actually a ferocious gorilla. What the F*CK? Is this the image of Xiao Yin in your mind? At this moment, Lin Feng already understood that the scene in the light and shadow represented the most primitive subconscious in Tiny Tot's heart. It was his view of everyone around him. In another scene, Tiny Tot had a sleepy expression on his face, but he had no choice but to sit there and listen to a big white goose that kept calling. That big white goose was wearing a green robe and an ancient crown on its head. It kept calling out, "Oh, oh," making people feel extremely irritated. In the scene, Tiny Tot complained in a low voice, "Second senior brother is so annoying." Lin Feng covered his face and could not bear to watch anymore. This was the image of Zhu in Tiny Tot's subconscious. In the third scene, however, it was silent. Tiny Tot hid behind a tree and carefully looked at a big black dog that did not make a sound and only stared at him silently. Tiny Tot was obviously a little afraid of this big black dog. He curled his lips and said, "I can clearly beat third senior brother, but why do I feel a chill every time I see him?" Lin Feng looked at this scene speechlessly. "Actually, you want to say that a dog that bites doesn't bark, right? You want to say that, right? Stinking brat. Wait, in this stinking brat's heart, what kind of image do I have?" Lin Feng suddenly thought of an important question. At this moment, Tiny Tot, who was sleeping soundly in reality, turned over again and muttered, "Master." Lin Feng's ears immediately perked up. He stared unblinkingly at the ball of light and shadow above Tiny Tot's head. Sure enough, the scene changed again. Chapter 174. Stinking Brat. If you dare to ruin my tall and mighty image, I'll beat your butt into 8 pieces. Lin Feng's eyes were fixed on the light illusion above Xiao Budian's head. In that illusion, a new image appeared. In the image, there was only Xiao Budian sitting under a mountain. Silently, he leaned against the mountain and slept soundly. Lin Feng looked up and down, left and right, but did not find a second living creature other than Xiao Budian. Xiao Budian was sleeping very peacefully. All his worries were far away from him. It was as if as long as he relied on the mountain behind him, no danger or difficulty could disturb him. That mountain supported the 9 heavens for him. That mountain suppressed the earth for him. That mountain sheltered him from the wind and rain. That mountain ensured his safety for a lifetime. And that mountain, a layer of understanding rose in Lin Feng's heart. Silently looking at Xiao Budian, who was sleeping soundly, he felt his entire mood calm down. Stinking brat. After composing himself, Lin Feng shook his head and laughed. His gaze shifted from the light illusion above Xiao Budian's head to Xiao Yan's body. There was also a light illusion above Xiao Yan's head, in which images kept flashing. Lin Feng was also very interested in the image of everyone in Xiao Yan's mind. However, he still used his magic power to explore Xiao Yan's beer platform pill cauldron first. Xiao Budian has 5 first-grade beer platforms in his Qi Si, and there might even be more. Lin Feng pondered. What about Xiao Yan? Not everyone had a heaven-defying bone structure like Xiao Budian's. Xiao Yan only had a first-grade beer platform with a first-grade pill cauldron on top. Lin Feng sighed with a bit of pity. His 8 trigrams of the Great Way of the Heavens is extremely domineering. Those who are successful in cultivating it, if they can successfully build a spirit platform, they will most likely have a grade 1 spirit platform. In the cultivation world of the human race, Taishu Temple's most famous supreme Tao art, the Tai and Void scriptures, the Grand Wang Qing Tao and the Void Yin Yang Tao were guaranteed to reach the 2nd grade spirit platform. Depending on the cultivator's talent, there is a certain chance of reaching the 1st grade spirit platform. It was hard to say about the rest of the heavens Tao Te Ching, but at least in terms of the foundation building level, the 8 trigrams of the Great Way of the Heavens had already crushed all the Tao techniques in the world. However, the Sovereign Spirit platform was something that could only be found by luck. Even Lin Feng himself had only managed to upgrade his spirit platform to the Sovereign Spirit platform because of the system's reward. However, a true son of heaven like Xiao Yan could only obtain a first-grade pill cauldron in the end. Although one could obtain a purple pill of the highest quality by forming a golden elixir, Lin Feng always felt that something was missing. Just as he was thinking about this, Lin Feng suddenly felt Xiao Yan's pill cauldron move slightly. What's going on? Lin Feng keenly noticed the unusual movement of Xiao Yan's pill cauldron. Although it was only a very slight vibration, it immediately made Lin Feng vigilant. Only when the pill cauldron was stable could the Tao foundation be condensed. Only then could one prepare to form the golden elixir and break through to the golden elixir period. The instability of Xiao Yan's pill cauldron immediately attracted Lin Feng's attention. He did not want anything to happen to his eldest disciple. However, in Lin Feng's heart, there was another kind of hope. He hoped that Xiao Yan's pill cauldron also had some kind of secret and extraordinary aspect, just like how Xiao Budian had set up 5 spirit platforms in one breath. As a heaven-defying person like the Son of Heaven, shouldn't there be something extraordinary about them? As soon as his dermic powers entered Xiao Yan's pill cauldron, Lin Feng immediately felt that he had entered a purple world. Endless bluish-purple flames covered the sky and attacked him. Damn! Lin Feng cursed. Xiao Yan condensed the pill cauldron not only with his own dermic powers, but also with the evil infernal evil flame and the evil infernal overlord sword, forming a fire cauldron. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. He stared at the fire cauldron and thought for a while. Suddenly, he took out his true sun fire seed and carefully controlled it. A trace of true sun fire entered Xiao Yan's body. Under the control of Lin Feng's dermic powers, this trace of true sun fire, which was as weak as a small spark, was sent into Xiao Yan's pill cauldron. Boom! Xiao Yan's pill cauldron immediately reacted. It swallowed this trace of true sun fire and integrated it into its body. Lin Feng could clearly feel that Xiao Yan's pill cauldron was more condensed and of higher quality than before. 9 Heavens' phaseless astral wind, Yellow Spring's true water, and Akalanatha's fury fire. Lin Feng fed them one by one. However, there was no reaction. Even if there was a reaction, it was an adverse reaction. For example, the Yellow Spring's true water almost caused Xiao Yan's pill cauldron to go berserk. As expected, Xiao Yan's pill cauldron is also different from ordinary people. There is a faint possibility of it evolving. However, it seems that only the 7 great true fires can improve his pill cauldron. Lin Feng grinned and thought to himself, I wonder if he will still have such a strange characteristic after he forms the golden elixir in the future. If he continues to absorb and improve like this, I wonder what will happen when he gathers all the 7 great true fires. However, even if it was the 7 great true fires, if he wanted to improve Xiao Yan, he had to have enough firepower. It needed to be as heavy as the evil radiant overlord sword. Lin Feng's sun true fire seeds were somewhat insufficient. Comprehending the sun true fire technique as soon as possible will be of great help to myself and my disciple. As Lin Feng calculated in his heart, he raised his head to look at the illusion of light and shadow above Xiao Yan's head. Their images were flashing nonstop. The first scene was of Xiao Budian. This little guy was jumping up and down in a wasteland, not quiet for a moment. Here, a dam was broken, causing a flood to soar into the sky. Over there, a volcano was detonated. It was like the end of the world. Xiao Yan was following behind him with a gloomy expression. He was constantly helping him deal with the aftermath, dredging the flood, and resisting the magma that erupted after the volcano erupted. He was extremely busy. The little guy, on the other hand, was running in front while clapping his hands and laughing. I just want to cause trouble. I just want to destroy. I just want to stir up trouble. My favorite, Yahé. Lin Feng smiled bitterly as he watched. He thought to himself that the two of you were really a pair of clowns. In my eyes, you are a shield, and in your eyes, I am a troublemaker. In the second scene, Xiao Yan was leisurely climbing the mountain when Zhu Yi suddenly appeared. Zhu Yi spoke eloquently and shook his head. As he recited the principles of poetry, he climbed the mountain in a swaying manner. Standing at the top of the mountain, he suddenly let out a long roar like a dragon's roar. He was truly free and unfettered. Unfortunately, in the next second, a bolt of lightning suddenly struck down and struck Zhu Yi's head. Lin Feng was dumbfounded. It took him a long time to react. Could this be the legendary act of being struck by lightning for acting cool? Is this the image of Zhu Yi in your heart? In the third scene, the main character changed to Wang Lin. At the foot of a mountain, Wang Lin was holding a hammer and chisel as he continuously dug at the mountain rocks. Compared to the huge mountain, the speed at which Wang Lin dug at the rocks was so slow that it was negligible. With his speed, he would not be able to dig out the mountain peak even after 100 or 1,000 years. However, Wang Lin's expression was firm and he was silent. His hands did not hesitate in the slightest and were shockingly stable as he dug at the mountain in front of him persistently. He did not walk around the mountain peak in a roundabout way, nor did he give up and leave. Just like that, he dug again and again persistently. When Lin Feng saw this scene, he sighed in his heart. The impression that Wang Lin had left on Xiao Yin seemed to be quite good. In your heart, is Xiao Lin like the foolish old man who tried to move the mountain? Perhaps he is now. But in the future, when Xiao Lin really soars, his achievements might not be any lower than yours. As the light and shadow changed, they arrived at the fourth scene. Lin Feng's spirits rose. He knew that this was most likely an impression of him. In the scene, there was a sea of blue, and Xiao Yin was swimming alone in the sea. The waves pushed him up and down, and it was vast and boundless. When it was calm, he could play to his heart's content and do as he pleased, unimpeded. And when he encountered an obstacle, the side of the sea would instantly transform into violent waves that would lend him a helping hand, shattering all obstructions. It was like a father who could tolerate him, support him in everything, and be his strong support when he was in danger. Am I this sea? Lin Feng muttered to himself. His spiritual sense retreated from the light and shadow formed by Xiao Yan's thoughts. He raised his head and looked at the gray, chaotic world in front of him after the black and white merged. He thought to himself, the power in this space is very strange. After a person enters a dream, it seems to be able to explore and communicate with the person's true thoughts. This power might be unconscious, but the effects it produced made Lin Feng extremely fearful. If I fall asleep here and someone comes in, will they be able to see my inner world? Lin Feng's brows tightly furrowed, grabbing Xiao Yin and Xiao Budian with each hand. Open! Lin Feng shouted, and a large amount of purple gas surged out from between his eyebrows. It quickly condensed into a small purple world in front of him. The world changed, and all things were born. The boundary of this small world and the strange space in the chessboard kept rubbing against each other. Under the control of Lin Feng's thoughts, the small world suddenly collapsed, as if it was the end of the world. Such a powerful force also caused the chessboard space to change. The boundary of the two spaces twisted violently, and a huge crack appeared in the void. Through the crack, Lin Feng could even clearly see Zhu Yi and Wang Lin's shocked faces. Turn! The crack disappeared in a flash, but Lin Feng had already made use of the limited time to use the two realms void technique. He switched a small part of the space he was in with a space in the outside world, and brought Xiao Yin and Tiny Tot out of the chessboard world. After stepping into the mysterious Heaven-Time cave again, Lin Feng turned to look at the sloppy old man who was playing chess. The old man still looked as if he had not noticed at all, as if he had not noticed that Lin Feng and his two disciples had already walked around in his chessboard world. After leaving the chessboard world, Xiao Yin and Tiny Tot woke up. When they saw Lin Feng, they revealed expressions of joy. Master, Lin Feng tapped Tiny Tot's forehead. You have grown up a little, but you're also more capable of causing trouble. Tiny Tot chuckled. Lin Feng waved his hand. All right, they're guests. Be more spirited. When the words, go out with me to receive guests, were about to come out of his mouth, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Lin Feng forcefully swallowed it back down. He looked at his four disciples, who were dressed differently, and stroked his chin. However, we have to have a uniform first. After saying that, Lin Feng raised his hand, and a vast purple aura enveloped the four disciples. Chapter 175. People need clothes. Buddhas need gold clothing anywhere, at any time. This is a reasonable principle. The Mount Shu sword sect cultivators do not have any special requirements for their clothing, but their standard long swords are all the same. The disciples of the Taishu Temple who enter the world will mostly have a white auspicious cloud embroidered on their robes. The disciples of the Blaze sword sect all wear fiery red warrior robes. The Great Lane Temple, which had already been destroyed, had developed their clothing to the extreme. Bright red, bright yellow, gray, with or without golden threads, with or without jade buttons. There were all sorts of monastic robes and kasayas. It was practically time to hold a fashion show. All of the above are definitely not simple formalism. For a sect, uniform and distinctive clothing is something that cannot be missed. Externally, it is beneficial for raising the sect's image. Internally, it is beneficial for strengthening the sect's cohesiveness. Just like the schools in Lin Feng's previous life all have uniforms. It's just that the majority of students are not satisfied with school uniforms. But that is not because school uniforms should not exist, but because the majority of school uniforms themselves are too ugly. As Lin Feng waved his hand, purple energy enveloped the bodies of the 4 disciples. After shattering their original clothing, it turned into 4 purple clothes that stuck to their bodies. It's not that Master doesn't allow you to display your individuality. What kind of clothing do you all want, say it? The 4 brothers looked at each other. Xiaoyan curled his lips. Master, I like black. Lin Feng smiled and flicked his finger. Other than the purple warrior robes on Xiao Yin, he added a black outer robe. Disciple prefers robes. Zhu Yi bowed towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled. With a thought, a purple robe covered Zhu Yi's body. Wang Lin smiled, saying, Disciple doesn't have any special requests. His final clothing is only 1 less black outer robe than Xiaoyan. The little guy smiled mischievously. Master, I actually like the clothes woven from bee skins the most when I was young. Lin Feng laughed heartily. No problem. However, the bee skin clothes you wore when you were a child were bare. How about I give you one of the original clothes? No matter how thick the little guy's skin was, he was still blushing at this moment. Especially when his 3 heartless senior brothers were looking at his lower body with malicious gazes, it made the little guy feel a chill down his crotch. Then forget it, the little guy said with a bitter face. Lin Feng was only joking with him. With a point of his finger, a short robe landed on the little guy's body. The upper half of the robe was different from the clothes of this world. The sleeves were only halfway up, and it somewhat resembled the short sleeves of Lin Feng's previous world. The little guy waved his little white arms and beamed with happiness. He felt extremely at ease. Lin Feng didn't care too much about his unconventional behavior. Anyway, the little guy was still young. When he really grew up, his taste might change. Although the styles of the clothes were different, they were all purple, the same color as Lin Feng's own robe. In addition, everyone's clothes were embroidered with a Taiji symbol. The symbol of the Taiji symbol did not exist in the original Heaven primordial world. Lin Feng previously used it as the foundation to establish his sect's Dao technique. At this time, he simply used this symbol as the symbol of his own sect. At the same time that the purple aura enveloped Zhu, Yi, and Wang Lin, Lin Feng also used his magic power to explore their Dao technique realm. Wang Lin knew that his realm was the slowest to improve and that his cultivation was the lowest. Therefore, during the days when Lin Feng was away, he stayed in the mysterious Skytime cave and didn't take a step out. He had been cultivating wholeheartedly in the accelerated space. Unlike Xiao Yin and the other 3, who often went out to Yujing Mountain to play, Wang Lin had been in a state of seclusion during this period of time. He had also stayed in the mysterious Skytime cave for the longest time, more than 10 years. At this moment, Wang Lin looked completely like a young man. Although his facial features were ordinary, his eyes flickered and his temperament was calm and capable. Before Lin Feng left, his cultivation was at the 5th level of qi refinement. Now he was at the 12th level of qi refinement. Originally, with his root bone aptitude, he might not be able to reach the perfected qi refinement even after 10 years. However, Yujing Mountain and the mysterious Sky Treasure Tree were full of spirit qi and were really suitable for cultivation. With a huge supply of spirit qi, Wang Lin finally reached the peak of qi refinement. Lin Feng thought, Wang Lin's period of exertion should be after he forms the golden elixir. When he reaches the golden elixir period, the requirements for cultivation will become higher and the reliance on one's root bone will be relatively less. On the other side, Zhu Yi's speed was not slower than Xiao Yan's. He had also reached the late stage of foundation establishment and the pill tripod realm. He had condensed his own pill tripod. However, Zhu Yi's spirit platform and pill tripod were only first grade and had not reached the supreme level. Lin Feng was very calm at this moment. Come on, let me see what surprise you have for me. With one look, as expected, Zhu Yi's pill tripod was also very different from ordinary people. Xiaoyan's pill tripod did not look different from the outside. He needed to explore it in depth to discover the mystery of the true fire. Zhu Yi's pill cauldron. At first glance, anyone could tell that the fart of an immortal was extraordinary. This guy's pill tripod actually only had 2 legs. After Lin Feng saw it clearly, he almost choked on his own saliva. In reality, pill tripods had 3 legs and 4 legs. Cultivators condensed their own pill tripod. Other than cultivating some extremely special Taoist techniques and cultivating a 3-legged pill tripod, most pill tripods were basically 4-legged. It should be noted that 3-legged pill tripods were not superior to 4-legged pill tripods. It was just a difference in Taoist techniques. Pill tripods had a total of 9 grades from 9 to 1. At most, there was the supreme level. However, no one had ever seen a pill tripod with only 2 legs, and it was standing quite stably. Lin Feng looked at Zhu Yi's pill tripod with a speechless expression. It could be seen that his pill tripod should also be a 4-legged pill tripod under normal conditions. However, it only had 2 legs on a diagonal. The other 2 legs did not exist. However, this 2-legged pill tripod was a genuine first-grade pill tripod. Furthermore, there was no problem with the pill tripod itself. Using it to form core should not affect the success rate. However, no matter how he looked at it, it felt very awkward. This should be the result of condensing the pill tripod with an incomplete Taoist technique. Lin Feng saw through it. But the Taoist technique that I passed to him has no flaws. Is this brat like Xiaoyan, adding other ingredients? After using his transcendence energy to probe, Lin Feng immediately discovered something. This brat is comprehending the Tao of darkness of the 2 poles of light and darkness. Lin Feng immediately thought of the time when Zhu Yi and the others went to the Wind and Thunder Sea together. Zhu Yi had obtained the transcendence energy essence and the Dharma artifact of a cultivator who had failed to pass the heavenly tribulation. I remember that the Dharma artifact was called the Dark Mandala Array. It seems that the cultivator who had failed to pass the heavenly tribulation cultivated the Tao of darkness of the 2 poles of light and darkness. Lin Feng understood. Zhu Yi did not inherit his Taoist technique. He only absorbed the transcendence energy essence and then melted it into his Tao tripod. The 2 poles of light and darkness were the most primitive and mysterious Tao of the 2 poles. The Tao of light and the Tao of darkness were the pinnacle of the laws of heaven and earth and contained endless great Tao. In Lin Feng's yin and yang life and death formation, the 6 paths of life and death included the changes of light and darkness. It was a powerful technique that was on the same level as the changes of heaven and earth and the changes of life and death. Based on Zhu Yi's current situation, it was obvious that he had grasped some of the ways of the changes of light and darkness through his own comprehension and had integrated it into his cultivation. However, he only had part of the transcendence energy of the Tao of darkness. He lacked the power of the transcendence energy of the Tao of light. If there was a treasure that contained the power of light for Zhu Yi to absorb, the 2 poles of light and darkness would reach a balance. Then, Zhu Yi's Tao tripod would reach a perfect state. Lin Feng laughed self-deprecatingly. The so-called Son of Heaven really doesn't walk the normal path. Supreme Spirit Platform, Supreme Tao Cauldron, these kind of ordinary common goods, only a small fry like me can make do with it. With this thought, he glanced at Wang Lin and said, "When you build your spirit platform and condense your Tao tripod in the future, are you going to create some trouble for me? None of them are easy to deal with." Lin Feng secretly sighed. With a wave of his sleeve, he took the lead and led his 4 disciples out to receive the guests. No, to meet the guests. As Lin Feng walked, he asked, Tian Hao, do you know how many spirit platforms you're going to build in your Qi Si? Master already knows? Xiao Budian scratched his head and said with some distress, I feel that there will be 9. 9? Lin Feng calculated in his heart. Xiao Budian's situation was so special. He did not know what would happen when he condensed his Dan tripod in the future. No matter what, as his master, Lin Feng had to help him achieve the best results. In the exchange system, I remember there's an item called the Heavenly Flower 9 Hearts Lotus. It is a combination of the essence of heaven and earth. It is the best item in the world for merging different kinds of power. I wonder if it will be useful for Xiao Budian's situation? Lin Feng thought in his heart. They are all the number 9. I wonder if there is any connection between them? After leaving the mysterious Heaven-Time Cave, Lin Feng led his 4 disciples to greet Kong Nanhua. As Lin Feng expected, his 4 disciples, especially Xiao Budian, blinded Kong Nanhua and Yu Hongyan. Yu Hongyan's gaze towards Lin Feng at this time already carried a bit of admiration. Kong Nanhua smiled and said, I have received a lot of guidance from the sect master. I am like half a disciple, but I cannot be compared to you, who are his direct disciples. You can call me by my name. Xiao Yin and the others looked at each other. Zhu Yi smiled and said, We will call you Mr. Kong. Among the 4, Wang Lin had followed Lin Feng to the great marsh of the ancient region and met Kong Nanhua. However, Wang Lin lived in the Black Cloud Flag and did not show himself. However, Kong Nanhua's every word and action fell into Wang Lin's eyes. After Wang Lin's introduction, Xiao Yin and the others understood Kong Nanhua's character. Among them, Zhu Yi held Kong Nanhua in high esteem for his trustworthy character. Now that they met, Kong Nanhua knew how to conduct himself and did not consider himself as a senior, so Zhu Yi and the others were very respectful to him. Kong Nanhua, on the other hand, was full of praises. With such a pillar, the sect has already achieved something. Lin Feng smiled bitterly and shook his head. He used his magic power to transmit his voice to Kong Nanhua. To tell you the truth, I am having a headache. He did not mention the strangeness of Xiao Budian and the others' Tao Foundation. He only said that he was struggling to find the Heavenly Flower 9 Heart Lotus. After hearing this, Kong Nanhua pondered for a moment and said, I do not have these things on hand. However, there's a place that Sect Master should go to. Maybe you will find something. At least, as far as I know, the Heavenly Flower 9 Heart Lotus has appeared there before. Chapter 176. Hearing Kong Nanhua mention the Heavenly Flower 9 Heart Lotus, Lin Feng became spirited. Oh, what's that place? The Heavenly Flower 9 Heart Lotus in the exchange system was too expensive. Even if Lin Feng went bankrupt, he wouldn't be able to exchange for a single lotus seed. Kong Nanhua replied, To the north of Kunlun Mountain is an endless desert. There's a plain at the intersection of the desert and Kunlun Mountain. It belongs to the westernmost territory of the Great Qin Dynasty. It's called the Sand Continent. The Sand Continent is the territory of the Great Qin Dynasty, but in reality, it's a power called the Heavenly Trade Pavilion that controls it. This power is extremely mysterious and low-key. It never gets involved in the conflicts between the powers in the Divine Land. However, it's in charge of the trade of cultivation resources that connects the east and west of the continent. Every year on the 9th of October, the Heavenly Trade Pavilion will hold the vast Ocean Dharma Assembly in the Sand Continent. Cultivators who participate in the assembly can trade all kinds of cultivation resources. Cultivators from all over the world will participate. Kong Nanhua recalled and said, I've participated in it once. It was indeed very grand and lively. There were countless rare treasures of all kinds. I've been staying in the Great Lake of the ancient region for a period of time. However, I've heard from an old friend that the Heavenly Flower 9 Heart Lotus has appeared twice in the past 3 years. Moreover, it was the same person who took it out to trade. Lin Feng asked, Do you know where that person came from? Kong Nanhua shook her head regretfully. I don't know about that. However, it's said that that person has always been looking for something in the assembly. He hasn't been able to find anything, so he should still be participating in the assembly this time. Lin Feng nodded and took note of this vast Ocean Dharma assembly. According to the geographical division given by the system, the sand continent where the vast Ocean Dharma assembly was held was also a part of the northern foothills of Kunlun Mountain. If he could make a name for himself in this assembly, it would definitely help to raise his reputation in the northern foothills of Kunlun Mountain. If he handled it well, he wouldn't need to fight to the death with others to accumulate a large amount of reputation. The sand continent could be said to be the most densely populated place in the northern foothills of Kunlun Mountain. It was unlike the depths of Kunlun Mountain, which was full of dangerous peaks and sparsely populated. It would also be easier for him to recruit disciples if he created a commotion here. Lin Feng even had the idea of recruiting disciples in the sand continent and then bringing them to Yujing Mountain. After all, Lingyun Peak, where Yujing Mountain was located in the depths of the Kunlun mountain range. For mortals, it was very difficult to find this place. But there were pros and cons to this. Accepting disciples in the sand continent would make it easier for Pang Jie and the rest to create trouble for him. As for the specific arrangements, he had to think about it carefully. However, I definitely have to participate in the vast ocean spell assembly and increase my reputation. At the same time, I can solve the problem of those brats' cultivation. Lin Feng glanced at Xiao Budian and the other three and lamented in his heart. This time, I really became a father and a mother. Speaking of being a father and a mother, Lin Feng thought of the children he had brought back and felt another headache. He waved his hand and called Zhu Yi over. Little Yi, I'll leave these children to you. Teach them the rules. As for where they live, Lin Feng clapped his hands lightly, and purple gas descended from the sky, turning into houses. Although it was illusory, when the houses made of purple gas came into contact with Yujing Mountain, they seemed to have gained support and a foundation, standing firmly on the mountain peak. In terms of food and clothing, Lin Feng flicked his finger, and balls of purple gas landed on the bodies of the 20 children, turning into suits of luxurious purple clothes. Each piece seemed to be specially designed, and the size was just right. Lin Feng released the thousands of spirit herb seedlings he had obtained from the 100 Herb sect, and then gave Xiao Yin a look. Xiao Yin smiled and blew a loud whistle, and the lucky child flew out of the mysterious sky time cave. After Xiao Yin fed it some nether evil flame, the lucky child was satisfied and let out a cheer. It landed on the ground and turned into a piece of spirit soil. Lin Feng waved his hand, and the spirit herb seedlings landed on the lucky spirit soil. In the blink of an eye, they matured, and each of them formed a spirit monster, like a group of fat children running around. This is called the spirit potato, and this flower is called the purple live flower. This is the spirit fruit of fasting, and this is the immortal fruit. Lin Feng was very familiar with all the plants that could be used as food for cultivators. There was no need to refine them into medicinal ingredients, and they could be eaten with a simple treatment. It was even fine to swallow them directly. The spirit energy was abundant, and it was soft and soft. Mortals without cultivation could also eat them, but most of the spirit energy would be wasted. Xiao Budian took the lead and threw a purple fruit into his mouth. After chewing twice, he smacked his lips and said with a smile, "The taste is not bad." The children curiously looked at the strange and dazzling scene in front of them, and some of them dared to come forward. Xiao Yin smiled when he saw them, and picked some fruits that were suitable for them to eat, and distributed them to the children. The group of children ate happily in a short while. Zhu Yi looked at them and asked Lin Feng, "Master, they are..." Lin Feng introduced the origins of these children, and then said, "They are all children with poor lives, and they don't even remember where their homes are. Master will first settle them down on the mountain. Once they are successful in their cultivation and become sentient, they will be able to remember what happened when they were young. Then, it will be up to them to decide whether to stay or go. Before that, they will be the children of the sect, and you will teach them some rules." Zhu Yi nodded. "Master is merciful. Disciple will definitely take care of it." At this time, Tian Hua had already turned back into his human form, and he flew back to Xiao Yan's side. Yujing Mountain was originally rich in spirit energy, and it was suitable for the growth of all kinds of spirit herbs and medicines. This piece of land had been continuously ripened by Tian Hua, and its quality had become even higher. Even though Tian Hua had turned back into his human form, the medicine field had gradually grown to a large scale. Lin Feng communicated with Yujing Mountain through his mind, and he used his divine ability and said to himself, "Rise." The rocks on top of Yujing Mountain surrounded the medicine field, and they gradually rose up, turning into a small valley. In the center of the valley, all kinds of spirit herbs and medicines were thriving in the medicine field. Why do I feel like something is missing? Forget it. Let's not think about it for now. Lin Feng irresponsibly called Xiao Yin over. Xiao Yin, this will be the sex medicine field from now on. I'll leave it to you to manage for now. Why? Xiao Yan's face instantly turned bitter, but he saw Lin Feng looking at the lucky doll that was pestering him with a smile that was not a smile. This time, Xiao Yan immediately became discouraged, and he took over the task dejectedly. However, his nightmare was not over yet. He heard Lin Feng say with a smile, "Right now, this medicine field is still missing some essential things. Find them, and then deal with them. This can also be considered a test for Master." "Yes, Master." Hearing this, Xiao Yan became even more depressed, and he stared at the medicine field in front of him with a bitter expression. After dealing with these trivial matters, Lin Feng announced that they were temporarily dismissed. Zhu led a group of children to settle down, and the little one also followed. Since leaving Stone Village, this was the first time he had met so many people of the same age. Xiao Yan stared at the medicine field in a daze. After reporting to Lin Feng, Wang Lin returned to the mysterious Sky Time cave to continue cultivating. Yu Hongyan found a secluded place on top of Yujing Mountain to cultivate on his own, as if he did not want to waste even a moment. Kong Nanhua also found a place on top of the mountain to cultivate. Lin Feng originally wanted to invite him into the mysterious Sky Time cave to save time for cultivation, but after careful consideration, he gave up on this idea. This kind of paradise that could accelerate the flow of time was really the foundation of the sect. Although the spiritual energy in the paradise was abundant and constantly regenerated, it was ultimately limited and could not accommodate too many people to enter and cultivate at the same time. Although the number of people in the sect was small, there would eventually be a day when the branches would flourish, so it was better to establish rules first. Things like rules had always been easy to break, but difficult to abide by. Lin Feng decided that the mysterious Sky Time Cave, other than himself and personal disciples like Xiao Yan who could freely enter and exit, it was better to be a kind of reward for guardian elders like Kong Nanhua, as well as the second and third generation disciples who would enter the sect in the future. This was also conducive to establishing the reward and punishment mechanism of the sect in a healthy competitive environment, so as to enhance the motivation of the latecomers to work hard. Kong Nanhua obviously knew this, so although he already knew about the existence and wonderful use of the mysterious Sky Time Cave, he did not mention it, so as not to make things difficult for Lin Feng. After bidding farewell to Kong Nanhua, Lin Feng did not return to the mysterious Sky Time Cave, but his consciousness re-entered the system. Lin Feng had never forgotten about the lottery chance that Kong Nanhua had been rewarded for becoming a guardian of the sect. However, this choice made him a little conflicted. Should he use the lottery system to gamble on the Heaven Flower 9-Heart Lotus? After careful consideration, Lin Feng did not use the lottery system to gamble on the Heaven Flower and 9-Heart Lotus in the end. On one hand, he was not sure about the probability of the lottery, and, on the other hand, he did not have any particularly suitable low-priced items on hand. If I don't gain anything after the Vasi Dharma assembly, I'll fight for another lottery chance to draw lots, Lin Feng thought as he clicked on the roulette system. With a flash of light, the items waiting for the lottery appeared in front of Lin Feng. Lin Feng's gaze swept across and immediately fell on the Disciples' Abode construction token. The Disciples' Abode was where the disciples of the sect lived. At the end of the day, Lin Feng's use of the cyclic purple qi to simulate a house was just a temporary measure. If outsiders saw it, they would be a little timid. Although Lin Feng could also excavate a cave on Jade Capital Mountain, and the spirit qi there was probably even more abundant, it would be a little boring for all the disciples to live in a cave. This disciples' abode construction token could solve this problem, and according to the description, the disciples' abode was the only token that could expand. In other words, for the first construction, there's no need to build too many houses, just enough for the current disciples to live in. In the future, when there were more disciples, the token could activate the expansion function, and the number of disciples' residences could be continuously increased, and the final scale could be determined according to the needs. The setting was rather considerate and user-friendly. Since the mountain was about to be opened, Lin Feng had an urgent need for the construction token. After staring at the numbers on the roulette and calculating for a moment, Lin Feng decisively issued an order for the roulette to start spinning. The disciples' abode construction token was in the 14th grid. After some calculations, Lin Feng finally decided to start spinning from the 3rd grid. The roulette system that looked like a light wheel started spinning rapidly. Lin Feng stared at the light wheel nervously and counted in his heart. 1 revolution, 2 revolutions, 3 revolutions. Chapter 177. 3 rounds passed quickly, and so did half a round. After the roulette moved forward another 2 squares, it stopped swaying and finally stopped spinning. I did it. A smile appeared on Lin Feng's face. Looking at the sect building token in his hand, he felt elated. His speculation was indeed correct. The roulette system's pattern was that after 3.5 revolutions, it would stop at the first of 4th grids. Although he had obtained the disciple abode building token, Lin Feng was not in a hurry to use it. Right now, he only had 2 tokens, the main palace hall and the disciple's abode. Even if 2 skyscrapers were to rise from the ground overnight like a miracle, there would only be 2 buildings left. If someone suggested building other buildings, he would be in trouble. Lin Feng was prepared to accumulate more tokens and release them all at once. There would be no repercussions, and the impact would be at its peak. Withdrawing his consciousness from the system, Lin Feng strolled on Yujing Mountain. Silently feeling the mountain beneath his feet, the mysterious sky treasure tree above his head, and the cyclic purple qi. Time, space, matter, and spirit. These 4 things gradually reached a new height. I'm building a beer platform now? Every blade of grass and tree on Yujing Mountain was under Lin Feng's control. Suddenly, he found something strange. Lin Feng came to a cliff. There sat a girl dressed in red, her flame-like long hair fluttering without any wind. Yu Hongyin's eyes were slightly closed. Her sword-like red eyebrows were slightly furrowed. After setting foot on Yujing Mountain, Yu Hongyin carefully sensed the concept of power and the truth of heaven and earth. She immediately gained a lot. She was already at a bottleneck, but now she wanted to use this opportunity to break through the bottleneck and build a beer platform in her ocean of qi to advance to the mid-stage of foundation establishment. 8 in bone structure and 8 in comprehension. Not bad indeed. Lin Feng nodded slightly. After observing carefully for a while, he found that Yu Hongyin had accumulated enough dermic power. However, in terms of understanding dermic techniques, although the bottleneck had loosened, she was still a step away. At this moment, she was only a thin layer of paper away from the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm. The fire elemental Tao technique that you're cultivating can obtain the divine power, the great destruction true fire. It's actually one of the 7 great true fires in the world, a branch of the Xitigarbha true brilliance. Lin Feng said indifferently, "How ferocious is the Xitigarbha true brilliance? Although the great destruction true fire only has 10 to 20% of its power, it is still ferocious beyond compare. As a female, your physique is in. It's not that you can't practice fire Tao techniques, but you can't follow the same path as men." Hearing Lin Feng's words, Yu Hongyin's body trembled slightly. Although he did not open his eyes, he was clearly listening attentively. Lin Feng continued, when a woman cultivates a Taoist technique with excessive yang qi, she needs to draw out a little bit of true yang hidden in her own primordial yin. Only by using this little bit of true yang to guide the yang magic power produced by the Taoist technique can she succeed. When Yu Hongyin heard this, his body trembled violently, and his cheeks turned slightly red. Lin Feng curled his lips and acted as if he did not see anything. What he said was reasonable, but it was not pleasant to hear. When cultivating Taoist techniques, other than a few special techniques, the requirements for virgin boys and girls were actually not that strict. However, a female's physique was originally yin, so there were no restrictions for cultivating yin-type Taoist techniques. However, cultivating a Taoist technique with excessive yang qi, indeed, needed to communicate with the true yang hidden in her primordial yin to harmonize the two energies of yin and yang. The so-called true yang in primordial yin actually meant that the practitioner must have the body of a virgin untouched. The reverse was also the same. Males who cultivated Taoist techniques with excessive yin qi also needed a little bit of true yin in their primordial yang. If they lost their virginity early and lost their virginity, it would be impossible for them to succeed in cultivating yin-type Taoist techniques. At the very least, they had to build a spirit platform and condense a Tao cauldron. Only after their foundation was stable could they let loose. In the human race's cultivation world, the most famous for this was actually one of Xiao Budian's enemies, the Great Qin dynasty's clan. Their clan passed down a supreme Taoist technique, the mysterious underworld technique, which allowed one to cultivate one of the 6 great true waters, the mysterious underworld true water. The Yu clan and the demon race's mysterious underworld beast clan, one human and one demon, were the only 2 great powers in the heaven primal world that controlled the mysterious underworld true water. One of the top 3 ironclad rules of the Yu clan was that as long as a direct descendant of the clan cultivated the mysterious underworld technique before they condensed a Tao cauldron in the late stage of foundation establishment, they absolutely could not get close to women. Otherwise, their cultivation would be crippled and they would be directly kicked out of the clan. Back then, Yu Tian, who was killed by Lin Feng near Hengyu Mountain, was pitifully over 20 years old. He was born in such a large clan like the Yu clan, but he was still a virgin until he died. Yu Hongyin quickly steadied her mind and immersed herself in her own world of Taoist techniques. Lin Feng slightly nudged her, and she immediately knew what to do. She was only a thin membrane away from building a spirit platform. Now that she had pierced through it, the mana within her qi sea converged, and a black and red spirit platform immediately rose from the ground. Second rank. Lin Feng frowned slightly, but he also knew that Yu Hongyin had actually used the spirit qi of Mount Yujing to surpass her usual level. It wasn't that her innate talent was bad, but the Taoist techniques she cultivated were a little inferior. If she could cultivate the Ksitigarbha True Brilliance's Fire Elemental Dharma Treasure, the Earth Brilliant Scripture, with Yu Hongyin's talent and comprehension, she actually had some hope of building a first-rank spirit platform. However, the Great Destruction True Fire technique was obviously inferior. Lin Feng thought for a moment. Forget it. A monster with a total potential of 30 can only be encountered by chance, not sought. I'll just treat it as an advance investment. He put his palms together and made a hand seal. Suddenly, a leaf floated down from the mysterious sky treasure tree. The mysterious sky treasure tree at the peak of Mount Yujing was so big that it seemed to have no end. Its crown covered the sky, and even the smallest leaf had an area of at least an acre. Lin Feng flicked his finger, and the mysterious sky treasure tree's volume kept shrinking until it was the size of a human fingernail. The shrunken mysterious sky treasure tree's leaf stuck to Yu Hongyin's forehead and merged into her glabella. Yu Hongyin's body shook violently, and the spirit platform in her qi sea, which was about to reach its peak at the 8th level, suddenly shot out spiritual energy. When Lin Feng saw this, he thought to himself, the mysterious sky treasure tree's leaf can only give you a chance. Whether you can succeed or not depends on you. A first-rank spirit platform was as rare as phoenix feathers and Sheelan horns. Talent, opportunities, Taoist techniques, temperament, willpower, and many other factors worked together to create it. Even if the mysterious sky treasure tree was miraculous, it could only play a supporting role and increase Yu Hongyan's chances of success. Yu Hongyan seemed to feel something, and her mind became even calmer. Silently, she guided the spiritual energy in her body and focused on building the spirit platform. Under Lin Feng's gaze, the spiritual energy at the top of Yu Hongyan's spirit platform shook continuously, and in the end, it actually turned into a layer of spirit platform completely made of flames. A first-rank spirit platform with 9 levels. This spirit platform of hers is also extraordinary. The top layer is actually completely made of flames, just like a beacon tower. Lin Feng watched from the side and clicked his tongue in wonder. The fluctuation of spiritual energy in Yu Hongyan's body gradually calmed down, becoming more condensed and pure. She had taken a big step forward and was now a mid-stage foundation-building cultivator. She opened her red eyes, which were filled with joy. After calming herself down, she slowly bowed to Lin Feng. "Thank you, Senior, for helping me." Lin Feng waved his sleeve and said with a faint smile, "I was just taking advantage of the situation. If I didn't have such talent, everything would have been in vain." Yu Hongyan raised her eyes and looked at Lin Feng with a puzzled expression. Lin Feng knew what she was thinking, but he couldn't just say, "I see that you have a good innate talent, and I want to take you as my disciple." That would be too degrading. Your eyes are filled with hatred and anger. Lin Feng said lightly, "The fire in your heart, if it doesn't destroy the enemy, then it is destined to burn yourself. You and I meeting each other is fate. I will give you a good fortune, but whether or not you can succeed in the end is still up to you." Hearing Lin Feng's words, Yu Hongyan's mind went into a trance, blankly staring at the empty space outside of Yujing Mountain, her expression somewhat at a loss. "I don't know, he's too strong. Even Mr. Kong isn't his match. I desperately want to make myself stronger. I want to personally kill him and avenge everyone in the Society of Strong Gale, but I really don't know if I can do it. Sometimes I don't even dare to think too much. Every time I think, I feel my courage weaken by a bit. I feel my confidence weaken by a bit." At this time, Yu Hongyan clearly seemed a bit fragile. Her 2 thin, sword-like eyebrows also drooped down, which instead added a bit of gentleness and beauty. Lin Feng didn't say anything, only silently listening on the side. From Yu Hongyan's narration, he finally knew the whole story of the Society of the Strong Gale's destruction. Rather than saying it's a tragedy, it's better to say it's a sad joke. The Society of the Strong Gale is a resistance organization established by the remnant citizens of Snowgale who refused to accept the rule of the Great Zhou dynasty after the Great Zhou dynasty annexed Snowgale over 10 years ago. Its founders are 2 people. One is Yu Hongyan's biological brother, Yu Hongfeng, who already died in battle against the Great Zhou dynasty several years ago. And the other person is called Zhang Lai. He and Yu Hongfeng are best friends. The 2 of them established the Society of the Strong Gale together. After Yu Hongfeng died in battle, Zhang Lai became the leader of the Society of the Strong Gale, leading the remaining people to resist the Great Zhou dynasty. The Zhang and Yu families are old friends. Yu Hongyan grew up under Zhang Lai's tutelage. Even the Great Destruction True Fire technique that she practices right now was taught to her by Zhang Lai. During the Battle of the Great Marsh of the ancient region, Zhang Lai was in seclusion somewhere else, hoping to be able to endure the lightning tribulation and form Yuanying. Not long ago, Zhang Lai finally came out of seclusion. Not only did he reach the Yuanying stage, he even reached the middle stage of Yuanying. But in Yu Hongyan's description, after coming out of seclusion, Zhang Lai's personality became extreme and twisted, as if he had gone mad. After finding out that Yu Hongyan led the remnants of the Society of the Strong Gale out of the Great Zhou dynasty, Zhang Lai flew into a rage. He said that we are weak and compromising cowards and trash. Yu Hongyin's eyes once again ignited. I remember his original words clearly. Cowardly and incompetent. There's no use keeping you. Use your flesh and blood as a sacrifice to my snow gale country. After saying that, he actually practiced some kind of evil technique and sacrificed all of my compatriots of the Society of the Strong Gale alive. Those are all his compatriots. Yu Hongyin's eyes were spitting fire. Only him. I must kill him with my own hands and avenge everyone in the Society of the Strong Gale. Lin Feng grinned, not saying anything. Why does this sound so much like the feeling of love turning into hate? She and that Zhang Lai don't seem to be as simple as half-master and disciple. Could it be the legendary teacher-student love? How did all the good cabbages get taken by pigs? No, she can use her true yang to draw out the yang mana. That means she's still immature. Oh, that's good. That's good. That means she hasn't been taken yet. Lin Feng let his imagination run wild while muttering in his heart. Another good cabbages. Luckily, that pig is a bit stupid. But there's something wrong with that Zhang Lai. Who cares? If you don't want this disciple, then I'll kindly accept him. If he dares to come and make noise, I'll beat him up until even his mother can't recognize him. But middle stage of yuanying, Lin Feng smacked his lips. I need to improve my cultivation a step further. With my current strength, it's still a bit unsteady to fight one-on-one at yuanying stage after leaving Yujing Mountain. To know Skirich, let's first start from the middle stage of Golden Elixir. Chapter 178. At the top of the Mystic Heaven Treasure Tree, Lin Feng sat upright. His body and mind were in peak condition. Let's begin. Lin Feng closed his eyes and looked inside his body. A golden elixir with a purple glow was spinning. Under Lin Feng's control, his magic power began to circulate rapidly. Vigorous mana surged within Lin Feng's body like a flood opening a dam, flowing in all directions. Then, the magic power was like firewood that was ignited. With a boom, it exploded and burned from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. It was the Yin fire burning body, the Yin fire tribulation. To advance to the middle stage of the golden elixir, the Yin fire burning body was a threshold that had to be crossed. If he could pass it, he would have a bright future. If he couldn't, he would immediately be burned to ashes. Many cultivators in the early stage of the golden elixir deliberately suppressed their power so that they wouldn't accidentally trigger the Yin fire tribulation. This was because they didn't have the confidence that they could pass it. They would rather stay in the early stage of the golden elixir and enjoy 1,000 years of life than be burned to ashes. Lin Feng was full of confidence. He initiated the Yin fire tribulation because he believed that he had made sufficient preparations. Although the magic power in his body was surging and the Yin fire burning body was burning, his mind was like a spring breeze. It was peaceful. Lin Feng wholeheartedly felt the changes in his body. He communicated with everything in the world. In the blink of an eye, it was like thousands of years had passed. The Yin fire burned Lin Feng's golden elixir. The golden elixir vibrated continuously. Black smoke kept coming out from it. In the early stage of the golden elixir, although it was formed into a golden elixir, there were impurities in the golden elixir. It needed the help of the Yin fire to remove the impurities. After a long time, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly widened and exploded with endless divine light. Boom! Between the heavens and the earth, a majestic intent connected the heavens and the earth, descending to the yellow springs and receiving the energy of the heavens and the earth. Lin Feng only felt that his body and soul were shaking together. He was reborn. It was an earth-shattering change. A golden elixir, resplendent and translucent, without the slightest impurity. An invisible qi descended from the void and connected with Lin Feng's body. Somehow, Lin Feng's mind was connected to the heavens and the earth. However, it was not like he had merged with the heavens and the earth. Instead, it was like a frog at the bottom of a well, finally realizing that there was another world beyond the well. A door that was originally tightly shut was pushed open by Lin Feng, allowing him to step into a brand new world. Middle stage of golden elixir, heaven-reaching awareness. It was only when Lin Feng was at this level that he realized how profound it was. Prior to this, cultivators had been constantly tempering their own magic power and accumulating strength. In terms of the strength of a cultivator's magic power, the difference between the middle stage of the golden elixir and the early stage of the golden elixir was not very big. However, only after reaching the middle stage of the golden elixir could a cultivator be said to be able to truly control their own magic power. The so-called cultivation was to borrow the power of the heavens and the earth to break through the limits of human, to be free, to be immortal. The early stage of the golden elixir was the realm of immortality. Although one could train their magic power to the peak, they could look inside and constantly repair the minor injuries on their body, thus obtaining immortality and breaking through the threshold of life and death. However, they were limited by their understanding of the energy of the heavens and the earth. They could not maximize their magic power that had reached the peak. But the middle stage of the golden elixir could do this after reaching the heaven-reaching awareness. This was the fundamental reason for the difference in power between the two realms. One had power, but they did not know how to use it. The other knew how to use it and could use it. This was the difference. Middle-stage golden elixir cultivators, even if they did not draw spiritual energy from the outside world, were superior to early-stage golden elixir cultivators. Directly drawing spiritual energy from the outside world would allow the power of middle-stage golden elixir cultivators to reach the next level. Lin Feng calmly gazed at the distant void. In the void, there seemed to be dots of stars flashing. He didn't know how far away it was from here, but Lin Feng could feel that in the flashing starlight, there was a heart-palpitating power of heaven and earth as the stars were destroyed. That is true power. Lin Feng sighed. He stretched out his right hand and gently grasped. In the void in front of him, the water spiritual energy mixed with other spiritual energy was directly extracted by Lin Feng. It turned into a trickling stream on his palm and quietly flowed. Lin Feng gently pointed with his left hand. All the earth's spiritual energy was extracted and turned into a clump of soil. Light! Lin Feng blew, and the light in the void suddenly became intense. Fire! Lin Feng moved his hand again, and the fire's spiritual energy was extracted and gathered together, turning into a raging fire. Generally speaking, the Tao techniques that cultivators cultivated were mostly of a single attribute. After advancing to the middle stage of golden elixir, there was usually only one type of spiritual energy that could be extracted and controlled from nature. Lin Feng's ability to create things out of nothing could be said to be unique in the golden elixir period. 8 trigrams of the great way of the heavens. Until today, I can be considered to have truly understood this Tao technique. A tranquil smile appeared on Lin Feng's face. In addition to the 2 realms void technique, the heaven stage, and the 8 trigrams sky collapsing hammer, my 4th Tao technique has finally been truly perfected. Lin Feng withdrew his magic power and came down from the mysterious sky treasure tree. He saw Kong Nanhua sitting under the tree, looking at the void in the distance. This aura. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and he smiled. It seems that you have gained a lot. Kong Nanhua turned his head and smiled. At least I didn't let Sect Master lead me to this jade capital mountain in vain. He flicked his finger, and an azure water droplet floated in midair. Lin Feng's pupils suddenly shrank. Although the water droplet was floating in midair, he could clearly feel its extraordinary weight. One of the 6 great true waters of heaven and earth, the mixed true water. The 6 great true waters each had their own unique abilities. The Blood River true water was the most filthy in the world. The Yellow Springs true water killed all things. The First Sky true water merged all things. The Xianming true water was the most cold, and the Taiyin true water was the most gentle. On the other hand, the mixed true water was extremely heavy. Every drop of it weighed thousands of kilograms. After it was transformed into magic power, it was vigorous, exquisite, and incomparably tough. It surged and gurgled with great momentum. Cultivators who cultivated the mixed true water were unparalleled in the world in terms of the density and density of their magic power. No cultivator of the same level could match them. Kong Nanhua cultivated the mixed true water. In terms of the total amount of his magic power, he could already challenge the old monsters of the Yuanying stage. Even some old monsters of the Yuanying stage might not have as much magic power as him. The current Kong Nanhua, with his magic power and supernatural powers, could even put up a fight against the Gung Metal Tiger King. Yuanying stage cultivators like the 100 Herbs ancestor, who were not good at fighting and killing, might even lose to Kong Nanhua. Lin Feng's expression was solemn. He nodded and said, "Nanhua, congratulations. I still have to thank Secmaster for your help." Kong Nanhua smiled. "Where are Xiao Yin and the others? Speaking of which, I haven't given them a greeting gift. It's not that I didn't want to give them anything before, but I really didn't have anything to give them. Now, I can finally make up for it." Xiao Yin and the others rushed over when they heard the news. Kong Nanhua formed a seal with both hands. The sand of the Ganges River and the mixed true water, the two great treasures of the world, appeared in front of everyone at the same time. A grain of Ganges River sand and a drop of mixed true water formed a pair. Then, countless grains of sand and water fused again, forming 4 small shields that landed in front of Xiao Yin and the others. This is called the Ganges River Mixed True Water Shield. Consider my greeting gift to the 4 of you." Kong Nanhua smiled and said, "It's very crude. Sorry for making a fool of myself." Kong Nanhua taught them how to control it. The 4 Ganges River Mixed True Water Shields belonged to the 4 of them. Xiao Yin bent his finger and lightly flicked the shield, feeling the concept of power within it. "It feels so sturdy." Lin Feng said, "Of course it's sturdy. With the defensive power of this shield, cultivators below the late stage of the Golden Elixir stage can do nothing to it. Even leaving a scratch on it would take a lot of effort. Late stage of the Golden Elixir stage cultivators would have to use all their skills to break this shield. Only cultivators with powerful magical weapons and magical powers would be able to do so. Even if it's a Yuanying stage cultivator, this Ganges River Mixed True Water Shield can withstand an attack from them." Lin Feng smiled and said, "With these 4 turtle shells, even if you guys encounter a strong enemy, you won't be able to defeat them. The other party won't be able to do anything to you." The eyes of Xiao Yin and the others lit up. When they carefully sized up the Ganges River Mixed True Water Shield, their gazes were different. The little guy's big black and white eyes turned. He moved closer to Kong Nanhua and said with a smile, "Mr. Kong, what other good things do you have? Give them all to us at once." Xiao Yin and the others laughed and scolded. "You brat, you're too thick-skinned." Lin Feng patted the little guy's head. "One must be content. If you really want something, Master has already prepared something for you." The little guy shrunk his head and said with a smile, "I knew it. Since Mr. Kong is so generous, how could Master be stingy? There's no hurry. Let's go on a long journey first. I'll tell you guys in detail on the way." Lin Feng turned his head to look at Kong Nanhua. "I'm with the vast sea assembly. While I'm away from the mountain, I'll leave this place to you." Kong Nanhua nodded with a smile. "I just need time to nourish my magic power and harmonize the water and the soil. After the sect master returns, I'll go through the lightning tribulation." Lin Feng said, "That's for the best. I can also protect you." Wang Lin suddenly said, "Master, I want to stay on the mountain to cultivate. I hope I can build my foundation." "That's fine." Lin Feng thought for a while and agreed. "I'll give you that treasure after you build your foundation. I'll congratulate you." Wang Lin nodded and cupped his hands at Kong Nanhua. "Mr. Kong, please take care of me from now on. Leave the trivial matters to me. You can cultivate with peace of mind." Kong Nanhua nodded. Lin Feng turned his gaze to Yu Hongyan and suddenly said, "Are you willing to come with me?" Yu Hongyan was slightly stunned. "Me too," Lin Feng answered indifferently. "Your temperament is like a raging fire. You don't give in to men. Sitting in meditation and cultivating is actually not suitable for you. More experience in the world will help you improve your cultivation." Yu Hongyan thought for a while and felt that what Lin Feng said was reasonable. He nodded. "Thank you for your care, Senior. I can't thank you enough. We'll go now." Lin Feng nodded with satisfaction. With a wave of his sleeve, he swept Xiao Yin, Zhu Yi, Tiny Tot, and Yu Hongyin together and disappeared from Mount Yujing. When they reappeared, they were already above the sea of clouds above Mount Kunlun, flying north. Tiny Tot smiled. "Master, what treasure did you prepare? Take it out now. Don't keep us in suspense." "Impatient monkey," Lin Feng scolded with a smile. With a flick of his finger, 3 light balls appeared in the air. Chapter 179. Lin Feng flicked his finger, and 3 balls of light appeared in midair. Waves of powerful magic power rippled outwards. Not only Xiao Yan's group of 3, even Yu Hongyin was curiously sizing up the 3 balls of light. Silently, a small black flag floated within one of the balls of light. It was the size of a palm, and the flag's surface and pole were both black. Black light circulated around the entire flag, making it seem extremely agile. As the flag's surface fluttered, the surrounding space also began to ripple like water. Within the second ball of light floated a sheathless longsword with a baleful aura that could startle ghosts and gods. As the sword's light flowed, the baleful aura was so dense that it could shake one's soul. Looking at this sword was like looking at a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood, making one feel extremely uncomfortable. Within the last ball of light was a golden disc that flickered with a dazzling platinum radiance. Every ray of light was abnormally sharp, as if it could cut through space. Lin Feng first pointed at the small black flag and smiled. "You guys naturally recognize this?" The little guy smiled. "It's the black cloud flag, of course I recognize it." Lin Feng nodded his head and introduced the other 2 magic tools. This sword is called the 7-Fiend Dragon Slaying Sword. Its baleful aura is extremely heavy. Just based on its attack power, there are very few magic tools from the Golden Elixir period that can compare to it. Zhu Yi looked at the 7-Fiend Dragon Slaying Sword and slightly frowned. "What a vicious sword." Xiao Yin looked at the golden disc at the side. "When facing this thing, I feel a strong pressure." Lin Feng smiled. "This golden disc is called the Tiger Soul Golden Disc. Strictly speaking, it can't be considered a magic tool. It can only be considered a cage." The little guy curiously asked, "Cage?" "That's right. This golden disc was created when I killed the Gung Metal Tiger King and absorbed its demon infant essence. Then, I divided a portion of the demon infant essence and refined it into a demonic tiger soul that has no self-awareness but possesses peak golden elixir period battle strength." Lin Feng explained, "Those among you who obtain this tiger soul golden disc when facing enemies can release this demon tiger's soul essence. It is a good helper. As long as you have the golden disc, you can freely control the demon tiger's soul essence. Although these 3 items are only golden elixir period level treasures, they are definitely the best among magic tools of the same rank. Even if you guys obtain higher ranked magic tools, you won't be able to control them." A green light lit up in front of Lin Feng. A small bronze cauldron appeared. The profound and vast mana fluctuations within it made Xiao Yin and the others raise their eyebrows. The appearance of the bronze void cauldron immediately suppressed the black cloud flag, 7-Fiend Dragon Slaying Sword, and Tiger Soul Golden Disc. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Whoever among you brothers can form the golden elixir first, this treasure will be the reward from Master." Xiao Yin and the others heard this and instantly became interested. They looked at each other and revealed an eager and competitive expression. Lin Feng lightly flicked his finger, and the black cloud flag floated in front of Xiao Yin. "Little Yin, no matter if it's your evil radiant overlord sword or the 8 trigrams collapse spell that you comprehended, with the power that you can control now, the attack power and destructive power are already enough. The evil radiant overlord sword even exceeds the limits of your control." Slowly Lin Feng said, "In this situation, what you need is to be more agile and faster. Master will bestow the black cloud flag to you. You have to carefully figure out its magical use. Xiaoyan nodded his head forcefully. Lin Feng's distribution was exactly what he wanted. In his current situation, he knew his own strength. 8 trigrams collapse spell, attack, and defense were 1. Furthermore, he still had the trump card, the evil radiant overlord sword. No matter if it was attack or defense, there were no flaws. On the contrary, in terms of movement, Xiaoyan felt that he needed to strengthen himself to avoid being kited by agile enemies. The magical use of the black cloud flag to teleport over a short distance was exactly what he needed. Furthermore, there were other uses that were also very practical. Lin Feng passed the black cloud flag to Xiaoyan. Then he stretched out his hand to grab the 7 demon dragon slaying sword and handed it to Zhu Yi. Xiao Yi, this sword is for you. Zhu Yi respectfully received the 7 demon dragon slaying sword. He thought, Master thinks that although my E-sword path has many changes and is suitable for all kinds of battles, it ultimately lacks the powerful destructive power to attack head-on. Although he knew that out of the 3 treasures, the 7 demon dragon slaying sword was indeed the most suitable for him, Zhu Yi still felt a little awkward. It's just that this sword's murderous aura is too strong. It's a little too overbearing and lacks the aura of kingship. Lin Feng knew Zhu Yi's thoughts like the back of his hand. He said lightly, Do you feel that this sword's murderous aura is too strong? It doesn't match your expectations? After a moment of silence, Zhu Yi nodded calmly. Master is wise. This sword really doesn't match the swordsmanship in Disciple's heart. This sword is ferocious. It even has the possibility of killing its owner. Your swordsmanship, your temperament. How can I not know? Lin Feng said calmly. It's because of this that I have bestowed this murderous sword to you. Zhu Yi was shocked. Lin Feng would definitely not deliberately trick him. Since he had made such an arrangement, there must be a deeper meaning in it. Lin Feng looked deeply at him. Among all the disciples under me, your temperament is the steadiest. At the same time, your self-control is also the strongest. You are the most suitable person to wield this sword. At the same time, this will also be a form of training for you. On one hand, he hoped that Zhu Yi could control this murderous sword and not be tainted by it and become violent and murderous. At the same time, he also hoped to use the 7 demon dragon slaying sword to train Zhu Yi so that Zhu Yi's would be firmer, more indomitable, and more calm and self-control. Under the potential threat of the 7 demon dragon slaying sword, it also urged Zhu Yi to train even harder. The higher one's cultivation, the easier it was to control the 7 demon dragon slaying sword. Right now, when Lin Feng used the 7 demon dragon slaying sword, it was no different from using other swords. The 7 demon dragon slaying sword was as docile as a little sheep in front of him. Zhu Yi's breathing paused for a moment. He straightened his expression and solemnly bowed towards Lin Feng. Disciple will not disappoint master. Lin Feng faintly smiled, saying in his heart, Different people use different methods. Towards this kind of obedient donkey, continuously motivating him, letting him know that you have high hopes for him, this is indeed the most suitable method. From a practical point of view, among the golden elixir period artifacts in Lin Feng's hands, the most suitable one for Zhu Yi was the 7 demon dragon slaying sword. Xiao Yan's evil radiant overlord sword and Xiao Budian's unlimited wind and thunder, after raising its power to a certain level, were both powerful forces that could threaten cultivators in the golden elixir period when they were in the foundation building stage. Zhu Yi's sword of change was ever-changing and suitable for all kinds of battle situations. It did not have any obvious shortcomings. When fighting with enemies of the same level, he could choose the best way to restrain his opponent, but he would not let his opponent find any loopholes to restrain him. However, when Zhu Yi faced cultivators in the golden elixir period, if the other party directly fought head-on and forcefully crushed him with the advantage of transcendence energy, Zhu Yi would be in a very awkward situation. He lacked the powerful attack method to defeat the strong with one strike. And now, among the golden elixir period artifacts, the 7 demon dragon slaying sword which could definitely be regarded as the top in terms of offensive power, just happened to make up for this flaw of Zhu Yi. Xiao Budian saw that Xiao Yin and Zhu Yi had obtained the Black Cloud Flag and the 7 Demon Dragon Slaying Sword respectively. So he looked at the Tiger's Soul Golden Disc with a smile. Master, then this is mine? Lin Feng nodded and smiled. Cherish it. Thank you, Master. Xiao Budian cheered. It was very obvious that Lin Feng had given full consideration when distributing the treasures. He tried to match the characteristics of the 3 of them as much as possible, maximizing their strength. As smart as Xiao Budian was, how could he not understand that his unlimited wind and thunder spell actually still had a flaw? Indeed, Lin Feng's 4 great disciples each comprehended their own spells from the 8 trigrams Great Tao Canon. In theory, Xiao Budian's unlimited wind and thunder was actually the most powerful. This was because as long as Xiao Budian was given enough time, he could raise the power of wind and thunder to a level that a foundation establishment stage cultivator could not reach. Even a golden elixir period cultivator would have to be careful when dealing with it. Wang Lin had not built his foundation yet, so he could temporarily ignore it. Although the power of Xiao Yan's 8 trigrams disintegration was strong, if Xiao Budian raised the unlimited wind and thunder to a certain level, then even the foundation establishment stage Xiao Yan would not be able to disintegrate and destroy it. Back then, during the first internal competition between the 4 great disciples, Zhu Yi had always been suppressed by Xiao Budian. It was just that Xiao Budian was impatient at the end and gave Zhu Yi the opportunity to turn defeat into victory. However, the problem also lay in time. If there was not enough time for Xiao Budian to accumulate the power of wind and thunder, then the power of the unlimited wind and thunder would be greatly reduced. Lin Feng passing on the Tiger Soul Golden Disc to him was equivalent to giving him an extra bodyguard. During battle, it would buy him time to raise the power of the unlimited wind and thunder. As long as Xiao Budian was given enough time, his unlimited wind and thunder would definitely be a terrifying existence. Xiao Yin and the other 2 happily put away the treasures and refined them attentively. Lin Feng, on the other hand, turned his head to look at Yu Hongyin without batting an eyelid. The little girl looked at the 3 magic tools curiously, and there was more or less some envy in her expression. Lin Feng smiled in his heart and did not expose her. With a wave of his sleeve, he brought everyone north. After leaving the Kunlun mountain range, one could see the endless yellow sand in the distant horizon. And at the junction between the Kunlun mountain range and the vast sea desert, there was a magnificent ancient city. It was the Great Qin dynasty's western border town, the Sand Continent. Further west from the Sand Continent was a boundless desert. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was chaotic and tyrannical. Ordinary people were basically unable to survive. Even if cultivators entered, they would encounter all kinds of unknown dangers. In such an environment where spiritual energy was extremely chaotic, the strength of cultivators would be greatly reduced. On the contrary, some of the foreign tribes of the wasteland, after thousands of years of reproduction, adapted to the dangerous environment and took root in the desert. They unearthed large amounts of rare treasures from the desert and brought them to the human world to trade. After a long period of hard work and a large amount of investment, the Heavenly Trade Pavilion successfully established a trade and trust relationship with the foreign tribes of the desert. Because of this, they also became the Great Qin dynasty's tacit approval as the master of the Sand Continent City. When Lin Feng and the others entered the Sand Continent City, they were greeted by a wave of bustling atmosphere. On both sides of the street, there were all kinds of shops. In front of the shops, there were customers choosing goods, haggling, shouting advertisements. There were even people who did not have enough money on them and asked others to help them. After entering the Sand Continent City, Lin Feng only felt that he had suddenly returned from the world of cultivators to a mortal city. But in reality, other than the few streets near the city gate, after entering the center of the Sand Continent City, no matter if it was the merchants or the customers, the majority were cultivators. There were human cultivators as well as odd-looking foreign tribes of the desert. Senior, what's the matter with those two people? Yu Hongyin suddenly asked. Lin Feng followed her direction and looked over. He saw two people walking side by side. One of them, although reserved, was looking at his companion with a gaze full of affection. What else could it be? Naturally, it's... Lin Feng wanted to say something, but when he saw the other party's appearance, he didn't know how to answer Yu Hongyin's question. Chapter 180. Yu Hongyin stared at the other end of the street. Her expression was filled with confusion and curiosity. Lin Feng followed her gaze and saw two people standing side by side. They were choosing items in front of a shop. Although their eyes met by chance, Lin Feng could clearly see their love for each other. The two of them were full of tacit understanding. Their actions were incomparably in sync. In terms of appearance, they were both pleasing to the eye and amiable. But facing Yu Hongyin's pure eyes that were full of curiosity, Lin Feng could only feel cold sweat dripping down his back. Calming himself down, Lin Feng's expression was calm. He asked lightly, "What do you think their relationship is?" Yu Hongyin's face was filled with confusion. "They look like a couple." Lin Feng coughed dryly. "Why haven't you seen something like this before?" Yu Hongyin shook her head with certainty. Lin Feng felt bitter in his mouth. How was he supposed to explain this to a girl who had never come into contact with such things? The two of them who loved each other so much and were so sweet were both King men. Love of a male? Love of a male? Love of splitting peaches? I don't think there are such illusions in this world. Lin Feng felt that a layer of white sweat was about to appear on his forehead. According to his estimation, in the Tianyuan world, this situation was probably not an isolated case. There should be a considerable number of people who liked men. Looking at the surrounding people, although they would occasionally look at the same couple, their gazes only flashed past. They did not seem surprised. It could be seen that this kind of thing was not shocking. Most people were used to it. Some beautiful girls would even shake their heads regretfully when they saw that both of them were handsome, as if they felt that it was a waste of resources. But the problem was that Yu Hongyin, who was in front of Lin Feng, seemed to be quite surprised, perhaps because of the environment she grew up in. It was no wonder. In the 16 years of Yu Hongyin's life, for as long as she could remember, she had lived in a struggle with the great Zhou dynasty. Today, I'm going to assassinate one of your generals. Tomorrow, your army will come and surround my nest. The people of the Society of the Strong Gale around him do not have this kind of thing. Normally, all of Yu Hongyin's intelligence is also used on practicing Dao techniques and fighting people. Although Yu Hongyin had a lot of basic social knowledge, the love between a man and a woman was obviously beyond the young lady's understanding. But this time, Lin Feng suffered. Facing Yu Hongyin's curious gaze, Lin Feng smiled bitterly in his heart. Do I have to create a fujoshi with my own hands? Just thinking about this kind of thing makes my balls hurt. He chose his words carefully and said slowly, "In this world, there are indeed some people, a very small number of people who love and adore those of the same sex." That's not entirely correct. Lin Feng looked at the pair on the opposite side of the street. You can also understand it this way. They don't like men, it's just that it just so happens that the person they like is a man. Yu Hongyin had a confused look, but it made Lin Feng even more confused. Isn't it said that the harmony of yin and yang is the great Tao of heaven and earth? Yu Hongyin said in confusion. Lin Feng's lips moved, but no sound came out. Making a straight man explain to a beautiful girl what it means to be a girl, this is definitely a kind of torture. Yu Hongyin had a somewhat understanding look. Could it be that the love that surpasses the great Tao of heaven and earth is true love? Senior, what's wrong? There's a lot of sweat on your face. The corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched. He almost choked on his own saliva. He looked very seriously at Yu Hongyin and said, "I can only say that everyone has their own preferences. You don't need to look at them differently. But believe me, in this world, there is still a majority of men who love women." I still don't understand. Yu Hongyin sighed, but she quickly threw these things to the back of her mind. But it's not something important. Lin Feng laughed and thought, it's best that you don't think about it anymore. Otherwise, I really don't know what to say. Miss, is this your first time participating in the vast ocean spell assembly? At this moment, a slightly frivolous voice suddenly rang in his ear. Lin Feng was slightly stunned. He looked at the other party, then at the beautiful Yu Hongyan beside him, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Once upon a time, this brother's dream in life was to be a young master who led a bunch of lackeys and bullied innocent women in broad daylight. The person who came was a young man in a red robe. His face was like jade, and he looked a bit elegant. He lightly waved his folding fan, and his cultivation was in the middle stage of foundation establishment. It was obvious that he was young and rich, and his appearance was very good, attracting many ignorant girls to throw themselves at him. However, there was a bit of lust between his brows, which made people feel very uncomfortable. There was a group of people behind the young man in a red robe. With a glance, Lin Feng saw that they were all in the foundation establishment stage, and there were even 2 late-stage foundation establishment cultivators. Lin Feng didn't need to think carefully to know what the person was planning. Feeling a bit bored, he waved his hand and signaled Xiao Yin and the other 2 to come over and send them away. Lin Feng didn't have any intention of fighting this kind of people. Yu Hongyan looked at the young man in a red robe approaching her, and a pair of fiery red, sword-like eyebrows slightly raised. Her thin eyebrows, which seemed very gentle when facing Lin Feng, were now like a pair of thin swords that could kill people. This action of hers, on the contrary, added a bit of heroic spirit to her beauty, which was rare for ordinary girls. The young man in a red robe's gaze instantly became even more fervent, and he thought, seeing that she's not even 20 years old, she's already at the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage like me. Her talent is really not bad. If I bring her back and take her in, I believe that father and mother will be satisfied when they give birth to talented children in the future. He looked at Yu Hongyan and said with a smile, Miss, this is your first time here, and you're not familiar with the people in the place. I believe that there will be many inconveniences. Why don't I lead the way for you? My Red Haze sect is on the surface of the Sand Continent, and even the Heavenly Trade Pavilion has to give some face. Red Haze sect? I've never heard of it. Lin Feng looked at the young man in a red robe with some amusement. His ears moved slightly, and he heard people discussing in low voices in the surrounding crowd. This guy is here to harm women again. Why doesn't the heavens take him? Lower your voice. It's better to avoid trouble. His Red Haze sect is only a second or third-rate sect, but they have a strong backing. Their sect leader's sister is the concubine of the Yu family, one of the 4 great families of the Great Qin dynasty. It's fine if it's an ordinary concubine, but their aunt is very favored by the Yu family's leader. Sigh, the Yu family, no wonder even the Heavenly Trade Pavilion has to give them face. What a sin. Lin Feng's face revealed an expression that was not a smile, thinking, Yu family hee. Facing the young man in a red robe, Yu Hongyan's expression was calm, and he replied indifferently, Thank you, but I don't need it, and it's a rose with thorns. The young man in a red robe stared at Yu Hongyan's exquisite and alluring body, and his heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. At this moment, his gaze swept to the faint smile on Lin Feng's face, and he frowned. He looked Lin Feng up and down. A mortal ant. What are you looking at, Scram? Lin Feng laughed and shook his head. Because of the system's concealment, others couldn't see the depth of his cultivation, but he really hadn't been ridiculed like this for a long time. Yu Hongyan's thin sword-like red eyebrows immediately stood up. His body moved, but he stopped abruptly and turned around to look at Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and nodded slightly. He looked at the young man in a red robe and thought to himself, Dumbass, to bully the young master of a good family, you need to have a brain and eyes, or else you'll be kicking an iron plate at any time. Seeing the exchange of gazes between the two, the young man in a red robe's face became even more gloomy. Miss, it's not that I want to say this, but a mortal without any cultivation and a person from a completely different world from you and me is really not worthy of... Before he could finish his sentence, the second half of his sentence got stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say it anymore. He saw that Yu Hongyan, who had her back to him, didn't turn around. She raised her arm, and with a backhand elbow, she stabbed straight into his heart. With Lin Feng's permission, and knowing that she wouldn't ruin Lin Feng's plan, Yu Hongyan instantly had no more scruples. She didn't take out her black halberd, and just used her arm as a spear. The tip of her elbow was the tip of the spear, her forearm was the shaft, and her fist was the end of the spear. She swung her elbow, like a big spear, and stabbed towards the chest of the young man in a red robe. The strong, explosive force directly made it hard for the young man in a red robe to breathe, and the latter half of the sentence that he wanted to say was forcibly suppressed back into his stomach. Although she used her elbow as a spear, Yu Hongyan's physical martial arts assassination was extremely fierce. Anyone could see that as long as the tip of her elbow stabbed, even steel and hard stone would be pierced through. Although the cultivation of the young man in a red robe was the same as Yu Hongyan in the middle stage of foundation establishment, he was used to living like a prince. How could he have such rich life and death experience like Yu Hongyan? Moreover, Yu Hongyan specialized in physical supernatural powers and martial arts killing techniques. At such a close distance, no Dharma cultivator could be her opponent. The young man in a red robe was caught off guard, and he couldn't even react in time. Fortunately, the quality of the robe he was wearing was good. With a flash of red light, he blocked Yu Hongyan's big spear-like elbow. "Break!" Yu Hongyan shouted, and the flame at the top of the beer in the sea of qi suddenly flashed, and a tyrannical mana exploded. Her elbow was like a hot knife through butter, and directly broke through the opponent's defense. Her elbow still hit the young man in a red robe's heart. The young man in a red robe suddenly felt that all his internal organs had changed positions. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground like a dead fish. Before he landed on the ground, his eyes had already turned black, and he fainted. The originally noisy street suddenly quieted down, and everyone looked at Yu Hongyan in a daze. No one expected that this little girl would be so fierce. Without saying a word, she beat the opponent half to death with one move. Lin Feng also looked at Yu Hongyan speechlessly. Although he knew that she was fierce, Lin Feng really couldn't associate this female T-Rex in front of him with that ignorant girl just now. At this time, Xiao Yin and the other two had just arrived. Looking at the scene in front of them, the little one murmured, "Eldest senior brother, second senior brother, I didn't offend Sister Hongyan before, did I?" The corner of Zhu Yi's mouth twitched twice, and she turned her head away without saying a word. Xiao Yin snorted angrily. "Who cares about you? I'm trying to remember if I've offended her before." Chapter 181. Knocking down the red-robed youth with one elbow, Yu Hongyan seemed to have done something insignificant. Her murderous, sword-like red eyebrows also became much calmer. At this moment, the group of Red Haze sect cultivators behind the red-robed youth came to their senses and rushed forward while cursing. Yu Hongyan's fiery red eyes flashed. With a wave of her right hand, a jet-black halberd appeared in her hand. The other party was led by two late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators. A total of more than 10 Foundation establishment cultivators surrounded and attacked. However, Yu Hongyan did not care at all. Black light flowed on the halberd. With a wave of her hand, a black flame filled the sky. Not only did she not dodge, but she also raised her black flame halberd and rushed toward the group of Red Haze sect cultivators. "How dare you!" A late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator from the Red Haze sect shouted angrily. He took out a fiery red bamboo whip and flew into the air. The 9 bamboo joints of the bamboo whip flickered rhythmically with a red light. In the next moment, 9 fire divine bullets emerged from the bamboo whip and shot towards Yu Hongyan. The other late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator clasped his palms together, and a thick red mist rose from the ground, enveloping everyone present. Silently, Lin Feng allowed the red mist to touch his body. He did not resist. The other party's method was like a drizzle to him. It would not cause him any harm at all. The red mist clearly had a certain corrosive nature. It would corrode the opponent's magic power and magic tools. The red mist was extremely sticky. Being in it was like falling into a quicksand well. Lin Feng was observing Yu Hongyan. He wanted to see how this little girl would deal with such an environment. In all fairness, Yu Hongyan's combat strength was somewhat beyond his expectations. However, after thinking about it carefully, it was understandable. Yu Hongyan, who had fought through thousands of life and death battles, strictly speaking, had more combat experience than Lin Feng and his 4 disciples combined. Right now, Lin Feng was much stronger than her. He could crush her with pure strength. Under such circumstances, no amount of battle wisdom or combat experience would be of much use. If I stretch out a finger or even blow on you, you'll be dead. In this case, no matter how experienced you are, it's useless. However, if the opponent's cultivation level was the same as Yu Hongyan's, then Yu Hongyan would be almost invincible in a battle of magical powers. Under the same cultivation conditions, a theoretical bookworm against a battle-hardened veteran, there was no need to even think about the result. There was no other possibility other than instant death. Even if Yu Hongyan encountered an opponent with a higher cultivation base than her, as long as the gap wasn't too big, she could still win. As the old saying goes, I'm no match for you in terms of skills, but I have a way to kill you. At this moment, Yu Hongyan was like this. Facing 2 late-stage foundation establishment cultivators whose cultivation bases were higher than hers, she had a calm expression. At the top of the 9-level beer platform above her sea of qi, flames burned fiercely. She cultivated the Great Destruction True Fire technique to the extreme. The red-clothed girl's body was covered in black flames, blocking the red mist that was surging towards her. Then, she charged forward like an arrow released from a bow. As usual, this fierce girl never had the word retreat in her dictionary. She raised the 12-feet-long black flame halberd in her hand and used the Great Destruction Spear, directly breaking through the layers of red mist in front of her and advancing bravely. At this moment, 9 fire divine bullets also followed different trajectories and shot towards Yu Hongyan's head like a meteor shower. Under the control of the Red Haze Sect cultivator, these fire divine bullets were either fast or slow, and their angles covered all directions, becoming extremely strange and unpredictable. If one could defend against the first wave, they would not be able to defend against the second wave. These fire divine bullets were meticulously refined by him, and they were extremely powerful. Each of them was almost comparable to a golden elixir talisman. Usually, they were stored in artifacts and were considered consumables. Every time they were used, there would be one less, and they would need to be refined again later. This time, seeing that the young master was injured, he was anxious and released all of them at once. Yu Hongyan once again displayed her fearlessness and bravery. Facing these 9 fire divine bullets, she faced them head-on without any fear. It's just that in this wave of attacks, apart from Yu Hongyan's valiant fighting style, she also showed Lin Feng the exquisite side of her technique. The black flame halberd seemed bold and unrestrained, but it continuously drew mysterious arcs in the air, accurately striking the fire divine bullets one after another. Yu Hongyan controlled her power precisely to the extreme. Without detonating them, she sent 3 fire divine bullets flying. The Red Mist Sect cultivator's face instantly turned green. The next few fire divine bullets, he was going to detonate them with his own magic power the moment Yu Hongyan's halberd touched them. Who knew that Yu Hongyan would clearly see through his thoughts? The rhythm of the black flame halberd's attacks changed, and it suddenly slowed down by half a beat. In the end, before Yu Hongyan could get close, the Red Mist Sect cultivator detonated the fire divine bullets first. They exploded in the air for nothing, and they did not pose any threat to Yu Hongyan. Lin Feng saw that the other party looked like he was about to cry, and he couldn't help but laugh and shake his head. They're not on the same level at all. The other party couldn't figure out Yu Hongyan's rhythm, but Yu Hongyan had a clear grasp of the pattern in which he controlled the fire divine bullets. With a wave of the black flame halberd in the air, all the other fire divine bullets were knocked away. She didn't just simply knock the leaf fire divine bullets away. She accurately controlled the landing points of these fireballs and used them to blow up the surrounding red mist. In a round of attacks, Yu Hongyin counteracted and attacked, completely dispelling the spells of the two late-stage foundation building cultivators. In the next moment, she was already in front of the two of them. Compared to middle-stage foundation building cultivators, late-stage foundation building cultivators did not have an obvious advantage in terms of magic power. Moreover, these two were clearly spell cultivators, so when Yu Hongyin, who was proficient in martial arts, got close to them, their fates were obvious. With a light feint, Yu Hongyin tricked the two of them into confusion, and then with two swishes of her spear, the two of them were directly sent to the next world. The other Red Mist sect cultivators originally wanted to surround and attack, but when they saw the blood dripping from the tip of Yu Hongyin's spear and her red eyes that seemed to be burning, their courage instantly disappeared. They picked up the red-robed young man who was still unconscious on the ground and fled in panic. Everyone in the surroundings looked at Yu Hongyin with complicated expressions. Not only was this woman fierce, she was also extremely murderous. She killed two opponents whose cultivation levels were higher than hers on the spot, and she didn't even bat an eyelid. Lin Feng watched from the side, and after a moment of silence, he turned his head to look at Xiao Yin and the other two beside him, and said with a smile, "All of you have learned something, right?" Seeing Yu Hongyin nonchalantly put away her large halberd and walked over, Xiao Yin and the other two nodded their heads like chicks pecking at rice. We have. Lin Feng looked at the Red Mist sect people walking away and thought, this is also the territory of the Great Qin dynasty. I wonder if there is anyone from the Yu clan participating in the vast ocean spell assembly? If there is, Yu Hongyin came in front of Lin Feng and smiled apologetically. I have caused trouble for Senior. Hong Yin is ashamed. No matter, this is a small matter. I will not take it to heart. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. After this small interlude, Lin Feng and the others began to focus their attention on the various large shops in the Sand Continent city. Go and look around. If you see anything that suits you, just buy it. Under Lin Feng's command, Xiao Yin and the other two laughed and walked on the street, wandering on their own. I brought you guys out to look for treasures. Lin Feng thought happily. Every time he went out to buy, it was a joyful thing. He did not need to waste time to choose. He just needed to send his disciples out together, and they would naturally come back with a pile of good things. He stared at Zhu Yi's back and smiled unscrupulously. Especially little E. 10 points of fortune. This is a fellow who goes out to look for treasures. I have been too busy recently. It has really buried your talent. Lin Feng even thought unscrupulously that when everything in the sect was on the right track and Zhu Yi's cultivation was slightly higher, he might as well send this fellow out often. Yu Hongyin did not go. He remained beside Lin Feng and looked at him strangely. Lin Feng coughed lightly. Let's go and look around. Is there anything you like? Yu Hongyin shook his head, looking at the goods sold in the surrounding shops. His eyes were only a little curious, but there was no desire or interest in them. Lin Feng came to the front of a shop. As soon as he entered, a middle-aged man came up to him. This person's skin was sallow. His appearance was strange. His skin seemed to have been dehydrated for a long time. Like old tree bark, there were cracks all over it. But in these cracks, there was a faint light flowing. It looked extraordinary. His pupils were clearly different from those of ordinary people. They were like golden rings. A desert tribe, huh? Lin Feng suddenly understood. The other party looked at Yu Hongyin, then very enthusiastically took out a dark blue pearl. This pearl contained an extremely rich water element essence. According to the owner's introduction, this pearl had a special effect. It could help female cultivators maintain their youth. Lin Feng was speechless. Did he look like a fool who would obediently pay for a beauty smile? Although it was a little funny, Lin Feng still turned his head to look at Yu Hongyin. After all, it was in women's nature to love beauty. Maybe Yu Hongyin would like this thing. Unexpectedly, what he saw was Yu Hongyin pursing his lips, his face directly turned to the other side, his mouth lightly muttering something. What? The owner did not hear clearly. He was a little confused. But Lin Feng heard it clearly. Yu Hongyin clearly said, Useless trash. Looks like only things that are useful in battle are useful in your eyes. Lin Feng laughed and shook his head. The owner still wanted to ask them to stay, but Lin Feng and Yu Hongyan had already left the shop. As soon as they left the shop, they saw Zhu Yi walking towards them, holding a fragrance bag in his hand. Seeing this, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up like light bulbs. Master, disciple feels that this thing is very strange. Looking at it, I feel close to it, but also feel disgusted. It's very strange. Zhu Yi handed the fragrance bag to Lin Feng. So, I made the decision to buy it. It's just that the price is a little bit expensive. Not expensive, not expensive, not expensive. Lin Feng said repeatedly. If you see anything you like, just buy it. Master will pay for everything. Holding the fragrance bag in his hand, Lin Feng immediately understood why Zhu Yi felt close to it, but also disgusted. The problem was not the fragrance bag itself, but the material used to weave the fragrance bag. The cloth used to sew this fragrance bag, for some reason, actually contained a bit of the concept of the power of the great sun. Zhu Yi's pill cauldron was fused with the magic power of the path of darkness. It lacked the magic power of the path of light to be perfected. This fragrance bag's cloth was something he urgently needed. No wonder he felt close to it. But the existing darkness and light formed an opposition. So even though Zhu Yi felt close to it, he also inexplicably felt disgusted. But Lin Feng carefully held the fragrance bag, stretched out his index finger, and lightly scratched it, tearing open the outer cloth, revealing the stuffing inside. It was a small crimson-red grain, emitting a faint golden light like grass seeds. Lin Feng slightly frowned. He used his magic power to carefully examine it. After a while, his eyes suddenly widened. He suddenly turned his head to look at Zhu Yi. Zhu Yi was baffled by his master's stare. Lin Feng withdrew his gaze, sighing softly. I really cannot believe it. It really is Zhu Yi's certification. It must be the best. Chapter 182. Holding the sachet, Lin Feng could feel a bit of the concept of the power of the great sun from the cloth that was sewn into it. He probed it with his magic power, and after a while, he gradually found out what was inside. In the depths of the boundless darkness, a bright light suddenly shone. In the light, a Buddha stood upright in the void, forming a seal with his hands and emitting boundless light. Lin Feng had already understood that the cloth that was made into the sachet was actually a fragment of the kasaya worn by the great monks of the Great Thunderclap Monastery. The kasaya worn by the monks of the Great Thunderclap Monastery with extremely high status were usually top-notch magic treasures or even magic treasures. However, the cloth in front of him was only a fragment of a kasaya. The magic power within it had already dissipated, leaving behind only some remnant power aura. Even so, the remnant power was still very impressive. It was obvious that it was a very high-grade magic treasure kasaya. Especially the Buddhist Dharma used to refine this kasaya. Lin Feng had a vague impression of it. The Infinite Light Buddha Sutra, the supreme scripture of the Great Thunderclap Monastery of the Buddha's Sacred Land, was one of the 5 directions Buddhist sutras. It was the supreme Tao of the great heaven primordial world that described the path of light to the extreme. Looking at this fragment of the kasaya and feeling the remnant concept of the Infinite Light Buddha Sutra, I can really deeply understand what it means to say that a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Lin Feng shook his head and then took out a few crimson-red grass seeds, emitting a faint golden glow from his pouch. No matter how profound the concept of strength is, in the end it is still an incomplete fragment. Its use is limited. But this thing is incredible. At the beginning, Lin Feng's attention was also on the cloth that was sewn into the sachet. Later on, he discovered that the filling of the sachet was actually the seed of a precious spiritual herb called shiha grass. Shiha grass itself was not very valuable. Whether it was used to refine pills or forge weapons, it did not have much use. Furthermore, it was extremely rare and almost extinct. Luckily, the cultivation world of the great heaven primordial world did not have much demand for it. Therefore, even though it was rare, no one cared about it. However, Lin Feng had to care, because this Shiha grass was the only spiritual herb that could be used as fuel for the solar true fire. With a large amount of Shiha grass, Lin Feng could cultivate his solar true fire seed into the real solar true fire. Although Lin Feng's fire seed could activate the true fire of the sun, in essence, it was not the true fire of the sun. It could only be considered as a castrated true fire. The solar true fire, nether evil flame, and Ksitigarbha true flame were the 7 true flames. As for Lin Feng's fire seed, it was processed by the Golden Crow Great Sage and passed on to his descendants. In order to make it easier for them to control it, the Golden Crow Great Sage had specially processed it and suppressed the power of the true fire. Lin Feng had always felt regretful about this. Now, if he could obtain large amounts of Shiha grass, then cultivating the complete version of the true fire of the sun would be feasible. After Xiao Buddha from Tian, Buddha, Sunday, had Xiao Yin Feng, Xiao Shiha sun seed, and the Feng had the little one, he from a saint of Xiao sacred. By Yin, Xiao and Xiao Yin and Xiao Buddha 1. As expected of the fortune of the 8th rank. Their gains are not small either. Lin Feng checked the things they brought. He thought, but they are not things that can be used immediately. Let's put them aside first. Lin Feng led his 3 disciples and Yu Hanyin, who was getting closer to his sect. They continued to walk on the streets of Sand Continent City. The most important goal of this trip was the Heaven Splendor 9-Heart Lotus. According to the information provided by Kong Nanhua, Lin Feng and the others came to a big shop in the south of Sand Continent City. During the 2 previous Vast Ocean Dharma assemblies, it was said that the Heaven Splendor 9-Heart Lotus had appeared here. Lin Feng entered the front hall of the shop. There were not many people here, but everyone had strong mana waves. The weakest was a Foundation Establishment cultivator. Most were Golden Elixir period cultivators. Lin Feng could vaguely feel the terrifying mana waves of a Yuanying old monster on the upper floor of the shop. On the wall, facing the entrance of the hall, there were paintings floating all over the wall. Naturally, this shop did not sell paintings and calligraphy. The images that appeared on each scroll were all different shapes and sizes of all kinds of rare treasures. On the side of the pictures of the treasures, there were special words that introduced the treasure's origin, use, and price. Sometimes, the picture on a painting would suddenly disappear. The painting would become a piece of white paper. This meant that the item had been bought by someone. The shop was temporarily out of stock. Lin Feng scanned the nearly 100 paintings on the wall. Very quickly, he found his target in a conspicuous position. On the painting, there was a green lotus seed pod. On the lotus seed pod, there were 9 lotus seeds. It flashed with colorful splendor. It was dazzling. On the bottom right corner of the painting, the words Heaven Splendor 9-Heart Lotus were written. Price. Negotiate face to face. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He thought of what Kong Nanhua had said. The person who sold the Heaven Splendor 9-Heart Lotus actually wanted to barter for something else. He had been unsuccessful for 2 consecutive years. It was clear that the treasure he was looking for was not ordinary. Lin Feng pondered for a moment. He called the shop's steward and pointed at the Heaven Splendor 9-Heart Lotus. Contact the seller for me. I want this treasure. Even though the manager can't see through Lin Feng's level, he's used to seeing powerful people and doesn't dare to be the slightest bit negligent. Respectfully replying, Customer, I will immediately help you send a message. But True Monarch Mirrorflower's whereabouts are erratic. I really don't dare to guarantee when he will arrive. Please forgive me. True Monarch Mirrorflower? Lin Feng's pupils contracted slightly. According to the rules of the human cultivation world in the Heaven Primordial world, those in the Golden Elixir period were called perfected beings. Those in the Yuanying period were called true monarchs or patriarchs. Since this person was called True Monarch Mirrorflower, he should be a Yuanying period cultivator. The steward nodded. That's right. The Heaven Splendor 9-Heart Lotus was left for sale by a True Monarch Mirrorflower and Miao Shihao. True monarch mirror flower, Miao Shihao? Why did it sound so strange? Yes, Miao Shihao. It was a very heroic and manly name, but his title was Mirror Flower. It felt like watching a brute play with an embroidery needle. While Lin Feng was thinking, he suddenly felt a strong fluctuation of magic power at the door of the shop. The other party did not care at all that there were other yuaning old monsters in the shop. He just released his magic power wantonly. The intent realm of power that could penetrate the void was enough to show that this person was also in the yuaning period. Lin Feng turned his head around, but was abruptly stunned. The person who came into view was a tall young man with exquisite facial features. To put it bluntly, he was the most handsome man Lin Feng had ever seen in his life. It was just that such a handsome man was wearing a violet robe with golden edges. He was tall and slender, had skin as white as a virgin, and his eyebrows had been carefully trimmed. As soon as he entered the shop, a delicate fragrance hit Lin Feng's face and almost made him tumble. He walked towards Lin Feng. As he walked, his knees frequently bumped together and his hips twisted exaggeratedly. The most outrageous thing was that he raised his right hand and made an orchid gesture. Yo, I felt someone using magic power to explore my Heaven Splendor 9-heart lotus painting, so I rushed over to see who was taking a fancy to my treasure. The young man walked to Lin Feng's side with a charming smile. His pair of beautiful eyes were shining as he looked at Lin Feng. F*CK. What did this sissy pop out from? Lin Feng shivered and felt a layer of goosebumps all over his body. At this moment, he heard the shop steward beside him bow respectfully to the handsome young man. True Lord Miao, you've come. It's this gentleman who has taken a fancy to your Heaven Splendor 9-heart lotus. I was just about to find a way to inform you. Lin Feng shuddered and wailed his heart. No way. Damn, this is that true Lord Mirrorflower Miao Shihao. Xiao Yin and the others also had a strange expression as they looked at the incomparably enchanting true Lord Miao. No matter how strange they felt, the man in front of them was even more charming than a real woman like Yu Hongyan. His whole body was wantonly emitting powerful magic power waves. He was indeed a yuaning old monster. Miao Shihao's eyes wandered and looked at Lin Feng a few times. He raised his slender fingers that were as delicate as spring onions and covered his lips with a smile that was endlessly charming. You look pleasing to the eye. Come, let's talk. The shop naturally had a quiet room prepared for these high-class customers. The environment was incomparably elegant, and the seats were all made of supreme-grade soft purple jade. When a cultivator sat on it, they didn't need to circulate their qi, and the magic power in their body would naturally be nourished. In the corner of the quiet room, light smoke curled up from the incense burner. It was an incense made from a mixture of many spirit herbs. The spiritual energy was abundant and had an excellent nourishing effect on the soul and body of a cultivator. However, when Lin Feng and the others entered the quiet room, they all felt very uncomfortable. Obviously, this quiet room was exclusive to Miao Shihao alone. He should be a big customer of this shop, so he had his own quiet room and could arrange the layout and environment of the quiet room as he pleased. The problem was, this true Lord Mirrorflower decorated the quiet room like a lady's boudoir. What was he up to? Get the Heavenly Splendor 9-heart lotuses and leave immediately. Lin Feng really didn't want to stay here for another minute. This handsome, true Lord Mirrorflower in front of him could no longer be described as feminine. Zhu Yi was a little more shrewd, but like Lin Feng, he didn't reveal his true thoughts. Both Xiao Yin and Yu Hongyan looked very uncomfortable. On the other hand, Tiny Tot seemed very curious, looking left and right. After entering the quiet room, Miao Shihao didn't greet Lin Feng and the others. He lay down on a long couch and gently supported his cheek with his right hand, looking at Lin Feng with incomparable laziness. His action made the corners of Lin Feng's mouth twitch uncontrollably again. This is an action exclusive to beautiful women. Okay? I admit that you're also very beautiful, but you're a F*king man, okay? Don't think I didn't look carefully you definitely have a F asterisk King Adam's apple. At this moment, Lin Feng only felt that 10,000 alpacas were galloping madly in his heart. Miao Shihao didn't feel anything and still looked languid. His lips opened slightly. Let me say this first. If you want the heavenly splendor 9 heart lotuses, you can, but you have to exchange it with something I specify. Otherwise, there's no way. He chuckled. Brother Shihao, what I want is not so easy to find. Chapter 183. Brother Shihao, it's not that easy to find what I want. Miao Shihao covered his lips and chuckled, looking extremely charming. The corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched, and he said indifferently, "What is it that you're looking for?" Miao Shihao raised his left hand and placed it in front of him. He looked at his slender hand, which was more delicate than a woman's, and said casually, "Brother Shihao, I only need one of the 6 great true water in the world. Do you have it?" Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. "Unfortunately, I do have it." "Oh." Miao Shihao put down his hand and looked at Lin Feng with interest. "You really have it?" Lin Feng nodded. "Are you satisfied with the Yellow Springs True Water?" The Yellow Springs True Water is indeed one of the 6 great true water in the world. Miao Shihao said slowly, "Unfortunately, I can't." Lin Feng frowned slightly. "Are you making fun of me?" Miao Shihao looked at Lin Feng curiously. After a while, he laughed delicately. "Don't be angry, don't be angry. I didn't finish my sentence just now." He raised a slender finger and shook it lightly. "I do want the 6 great true water, but I only want the first heaven true water or the lunar true water. I don't want anything else." Lin Feng looked at him silently. What else is there to pay attention to? Of course. Miao Shihao flicked his fingernails and became indifferent again. The Blood River True Water is too dirty. Can still be called water? The Shimming True Water is too cold. Brother Shihao, I don't like it. I like it to be warm like flowers in spring all year round. The Primordial True Water is too cumbersome. I don't like it either. I like things that are light. He raised his head and looked at Lin Feng. As for the Yellow Springs True Water, it's dry and boring. I don't like it either. Lin Feng was speechless for a long time. He thought to himself, "You are so picky. Are you raising fish?" After thinking for a moment, he slowly said, "It's hard to say about the lunar true water, but as far as I know, the spring of the first sky true water is at the mountain gate of the Taishu Temple." Miao Shihao raised his hand and interrupted Lin Feng's words. With a face full of disgust, he said, "Don't mention the words Taishu Temple in front of me. It's disgusting and disgusting. If I had enough power now, the first thing I would do would be to destroy the Taishu Temple." Miao Shihao pursed his lips. "If you want me to go to the Taishu Temple to beg for the Tianyi True Water, don't even think about it in my next life." He furrowed his willowy eyebrows in distress and rubbed his temples with his fingers. "The Tianyi True Water has been taken by those coarse people who like to embroider white clouds on their clothes. There's still no news about the whereabouts of the lunar true water. If that wasn't the case, I wouldn't be so worried." Coarse people? Hearing Miao Shihao's evaluation of the cultivators of the Taishu Temple, Lin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Just the cultivators of the Taishu Temple that he had already met, Yin Mingwei, Peng Jie, and Chun Gang, were all impeccable in terms of appearance, regardless of their cultivation, temperament, standpoint, or personality. Miao Shihao looked at Lin Feng and angrily slapped the short table in front of him. "If it wasn't so hard to find, why do you think I put my beloved heavenly flower 9 hearts lotus up for sale? I even put it up for 3 years without finding anything." Lin Feng smiled faintly. "Fellow Taoist, you are confused. This is not the attitude you should have when discussing matters." Miao Shihao looked at Lin Feng in surprise. "What? Don't tell me you really have the heavenly true water or the lunar true water in addition to the Yellow Springs True Water." He had clearly stated what he wanted, but Lin Feng didn't seem to have any intention of giving up. It was obvious that he had a card up his sleeve. This made Miao Shihao somewhat hopeful. But soon, A wary expression appeared on Meow Shihao's face. I can't see through your cultivation. Don't tell me you're from the Taishu Temple? Are the 4 people behind you from the same sect or your disciples? Judging from the fluctuations of their transcendence energy, they don't seem to be cultivating the Taoist arts of the Taishu Temple. Lin Feng didn't answer. Instead, he took out a small porcelain bottle and removed the transcendence energy seal on the bottle's mouth. Immediately, a faint fragrance floated out from the small bottle. It exuded a mysterious aura of the mother of creation that could transform all living things. Meow Shihao's eyes immediately lit up. It really is the heavenly true water? He sat up on the long couch and stared at the small porcelain bottle in Lin Feng's hand with a pair of bright eyes. Lin Feng smiled faintly. I just don't know if this little bit of heavenly true water is enough for you, fellow Taoist. If there's more, I don't have any more. Meow Shihao nodded. This small bottle is enough. He looked at Lin Feng. How'd you get this heavenly true water? I don't mean anything else. I just want to know if you're a friend or a foe of the Taishu Temple. There's no harm in telling you. Lin Feng smiled faintly. There was a junior from the Taishu Temple who acted presumptuously in front of me, so I killed him. This heavenly true water was obtained from that person. Meow Shihao's eyes suddenly lit up. Oh, was that person called Chenggang? Lin Feng looked up and met his gaze calmly. I don't know about that. I don't have the habit of asking people's names before I make a move. Please don't misunderstand. Meow Shihao smiled charmingly. A few months ago, a disciple of the Taishu Temple called Chenggang suddenly lost contact with him. Although the Taishu Temple covered up the news very tightly, they couldn't hide it from me. At that time, I was still thinking who else would dare to kill someone from the Taishu Temple other than the demons, the Mount Shu Sword Sect, and the Great Zhou Dynasty. I didn't expect it to be you. TSK, well done. Meow Shihao made a pinching gesture with his right hand and pointed lightly in the air. Instantly, a 7-colored treasure light flashed in the air. Within the treasure light, a lotus seed pod appeared. The 9 lotus seeds on the seed pod shone brightly and exuded overwhelming spirit chi. Since you killed that uncouth Chenggang, I'll give you this heavenly flower 9-heart lotus seed pod. As he spoke, the heavenly flower 9-heart lotus seed pod had already landed in front of Lin Feng. This made Lin Feng a little surprised. He scanned it with his dermic powers and immediately knew that Meow Shihao didn't tamper with it. What was placed in front of him was a genuine heavenly flower 9-heart lotus seed pod. Lin Feng looked up at Meow Shihao. Fellow Taoist, what do you mean? Could it be that you don't want the heavenly true water anymore? Meow Shihao rolled her eyes at him coquettishly. Of course I want the heavenly true water. However, I'll use something else to exchange with you. If you want talisman money, you can also name a price. The so-called talisman money was a type of currency in the cultivation world set by the Heavenly Trade Pavilion. It was rather widespread in the western part of the Great Qin Dynasty and among the foreign races in the vast desert. It was basically accepted as a transaction currency by all forces. Talisman money was actually talisman charms. Talisman charms, made by cultivators of different cultivation levels, were converted into different currencies according to their power level. Talisman charms made by Qi refinement cultivators were usually called Qi talismans. Under normal circumstances, only talismans made by cultivators at the peak of Qi refinement level 12 were considered real Qi talismans. They could be exchanged with talismans of higher levels. There were 3 realms of foundation establishment. The talismans made by cultivators were called sea talismans, platform talismans, and cauldron talismans. The 3 realms of golden elixir period were usually referred to by the quality of golden elixir. From low to high, they were yellow talismans, green talismans, and vermilion talismans. The highest grade of talismans used as currency at present was the purple talisman, also known as origin talisman, refined by early Yuanian cultivators. Qi talismans, sea talismans, platform talismans, cauldron talismans, yellow talismans, green talismans, vermilion talismans, and origin talismans. There were a total of 8 grades. From low to high, the exchange rate between 2 kinds of talisman money was 10 times. In other words, one sea talisman was equivalent to 10 chi talismans. One platform talisman was equivalent to 10 sea talismans, which was equivalent to 100 chi talismans, and so on. The only exception was origin talismans. Because they were powerful and extremely rare, one origin talisman was equivalent to 100 vermilion talismans. Miao Shihao looked at Lin Feng and said, "Brother Shihao, I've accumulated some savings over the years. As long as your price isn't too outrageous, I can satisfy it. I definitely won't haggle. Or, do you want something else?" Lin Feng muttered to himself, "Fellow Taoist, you seem to have a deep understanding of Taishu Temple." Perhaps it wasn't just a deep understanding. This Miao Shihao was actually able to find out from inside Taishu Temple that Shun Gang had gone missing. Clearly, his control over Taishu Temple's intelligence was very strong. Sure enough, Miao Shihao curled his lips. That group of uncouth people. I don't dare to say anything about their sect, but as long as it's someone who's entered the world, I, Brother Shihao, know it like the back of my hand. His eyes suddenly lit up, and he looked at Lin Feng. "Sir, could it be that?" Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. "It's not what you think. Although I won't let Taishu Temple bully me, the number one holy land in the world, if they don't provoke me, I don't have the mood to provoke them. The reason I'm inquiring about this information is actually more out of curiosity." Hearing this, Miao Shihao instantly wilted like a frosted eggplant. Forget it, forget it. I'll transfer my information channel to you, and you give me the Tiani True Water. What do you think? Lin Feng's palm moved, and the small porcelain bottle was already in front of Miao Shihao. Miao Shihao smiled and took it, then charmingly rolled his eyes at Lin Feng. "You really trust me?" The corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched. He laughed dryly and said, "Fellow Taoist, you're a straightforward person, but I'm not stingy either." Miao Shihao nodded with satisfaction. "I like you more and more. How about this? In a few days, the vast Sea Grand Assembly will officially start. If you have something you want to bid for in the Sky Auction House and don't have enough money, you can come to me. I'll help you make up the difference, and you can bid without worry." Lin Feng automatically filtered out the first part of his sentence, but his mind was on the second part. Leveling up, killing monsters, picking up treasures, the Cave Academy's auction. Is this brother also going to welcome the legendary auction? A brand new idea suddenly popped up in Lin Feng's mind. Wait, the auction, perhaps this is an opportunity for me? Lin Feng kept calculating in his mind. The props are here, and I, the director and lead actor, is also in place. Now I'm still missing some other actors. After finishing his calculations, Lin Feng habitually put on a warm smile like the spring sun on his face. He turned to look at the little guy and the others and said with a smile, "Master will stay here and chat with fellow Taoist Miao. You guys go out and have fun." After a pause, Lin Feng continued, "If anyone comes looking for trouble, Master has a request." The little guy and the others looked at each other and thought, "Master won't allow us to fight, will he?" Unexpectedly, Lin Feng said slowly, "If anyone comes looking for trouble, remember, you can do anything, but you can't be at a disadvantage. Only you can take advantage of others. You can't be at a disadvantage. If you're bullied, don't come crying to Master." The little guy and the others were slightly stunned, and then they all smiled. Xiaoyan chuckled and said, "Master, don't worry." Looking at their figures leaving, Lin Feng smiled brightly. "The script is written, and the props are ready. We're just waiting for the other actors to get in position." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.